tuning in this week. We've got some special faces with us tonight. From the booth, Zach Mertes. Zach, how are you doing tonight?
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Perfect intro with that. That's great.
Carl, put your nose under or over your A. Over your A. There you go.
Goodness.
Oh Lord.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Well, Zach, thank you for joining us tonight and dealing with the shenanigans.
Yes, and you all get to deal with Kitty Cat.
Oh,
This is
boy.
Coco.
I hope the Roblox guys are watching.
Oh,
You know they are.
Jesus.
You know they are.
Well, if they're not, they probably heard about that and instantly tuned in.
Who doesn't love cat videos, right? Right?
Everybody loves cats.
I'm a cat. I'm a kitty
And
cat.
we also have our most recent winner in the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series, Adam Buzzio, joining us tonight. Adam, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing good. Congratulations this past week. Long time coming.
Based win. Super
Based
speedway
win.
take no skill.
Take
I know.
That's funny.
I know.
Zach's full of jokes today.
Oh, you bet I am. I am the joke king.
Related to Zach King?
No. Fortunately not.
Oh,
Why would
Gavin
I be
Rogers
related?
Gavin Rogers
Why?
is related to Zach King.
Why would I be related to people who don't think pancakes are amazing?
Oh boy, here we go.
Didn't say they weren't amazing. It just said they're not as good as waffles.
Well, that's your opinion, and we all know how opinions are these days.
Especially Richard's opinion.
Oh, and there's our disembodied voice in the background y'all can't hear, where we go completely silent for some reason.
I was trying to listen, but to get us back on the rails, and we have Carl and Richard who are on time tonight. I do just want to point that out. So not a fault to them. How are y'all doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. I hurt. The new job's kicking my ass because I'm just not used to it. Been out of a job, I can't say out of a job, but haven't worked in like 3 months, but doing all right.
Oh man, doing good. Had a long day at work today myself, honestly. But I do love Renner's comment. Zach, you look like Noah Gregson.
Oh, really?
He said he reminds you of Noah, or you remind him of Noah Gregson. So there's that.
I'll have to tell him that the next time I see him.
I'm pretty sure Zach is more talented than Noah, though. Just saying.
Ooh.
That's a stretch.
It's no secret that I do not like Gregson at all.
I can't say I see the resemblance.
Well, before we get off the rails, let's actually get the podcast underway. I want to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors, of course, that help BRB Racing League run and operate. Obviously, Butt Kicker, who is our title sponsor and a big partner of ours. We appreciate all they do. Sundance Pizza, Ideal Lease, Ascendance Trucks, Rev Sim Shop, CFM Performance, Advanced GG. Promo code is WolfXLive10 for 10% off all your orders, and all the proceeds go back into the league. Obviously, check out our merch at the BRB Merch Holler. New merch coming soon at the end of the season and into the new season, Season 4. And Maddox Graphics. I don't know if I said that, but want to make sure that's covered as well. On to racing, on to our real topic. We briefly touched on it, that Adam, you were our winner this past week at Talladega. When we were at Talladega for the Alabama 250, 100 laps at Talladega. Since you won, take us through your whole experience and finally winning on a super speedway.
Race started off great, qualified terribly. I think I was 24th or something awful, which is standard for me at a super speedway. I've never figured out how to qualify at them. It was really just about trying to be patient. I really didn't push the issue too much. I took advantage of momentum and holes when I could, but what really it got really interesting kind of when stage 3 started. I didn't get stage points in 1 or 2. I was in a good position to get stage points in stage 2, but I can't quite remember what happened. We were trying to work together with Racers for Christ, so I stayed in line on the bottom, and the top line just got moving. not sure what happened with the bottom line, but we lost all steam and fell out of the stage points for that. But when stage 3 started, and we managed to all kind of be around each other up in the top 5, top 10, it was really just about trying to control the line as best you could, stay in a good position. Jared and I, unfortunately, Steven had a premature end to his night, so he wasn't able to be up there with us. Richard also had some issues, and Carl too, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Multiple issues.
So it was really just me and Jared and Racers for Christ up there. Zach King was helping us out too, just kind of staying in line where he could. But once we got up there, we just tried to stay up front. We did get shuffled back a little bit, but that was a little bit of strategy so we could all stay lined up on the bottom and pit. Made a good pit call, amount of fuel when we did, and we were just riding it out there. I think I was in second or third, coming to a couple laps to go, just kind of biding our time, trying to wait to make the move, and then the yellow came out because of course it did. And I think the turning point for us was how we lined up. Jared and I really wanted to line up, in line with each other, but we kind of looked at who was around us, and the Maverick guys are all really close to each other. It was who was up? I can't even remember who was up there. Mason was up there. Brendan was up there. Mason was up there. I'm not sure if Zach Maddox was up there, but they were up there, and obviously Brendan and Mason were pushing hard. So we decided to split them up. So I went to the outside of the front row, and Jared went behind Brendan. I had Mr. Sam Dyer behind me, and he pushed my bumper off for that whole, 2 to go, and he decided to peel out a line coming through the tri-oval, coming to 1 to go. Nobody went with him, and I ended up with Camper behind me. Jared did a really good job of not letting Brendan get too much of a gap on us. And Dakota pushed me. We got clear. And then he peeked to my inside. I thought it was over once he got to my inside coming through the tri-oval. I knew he was going to do it. But he just got down there a little too quick. And I didn't want to wreck him or potentially spin myself out in front of the field and cause a big mess. So it was a little too late to do anything too defensive. And we banged doors, and I side drafted him just enough, come into the line, and you can see it on the replay. My car, Camper looks like he's got it, and then all of a sudden, right after that last little bit of contact, my car just shot ahead, and we brought home the win, surprisingly.
It was a really exciting end to the race, and I have to think, I've replayed the race, the ending in my head multiple times, just seeing it from different perspectives, and you mentioned that caution coming out to start the green white checkered. Of course it did. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that you or Jared would have had a chance if the green white checker did not come out, just based off the number advantage that Maverick had going into it.
It would have been really hard. They just had more people in a better place than we did, and we couldn't seem to get quite. Jared and I were linked up, but that's all we really had. And if we got out of line to make any kind of move, it wasn't probably going to end super well for us. I wasn't happy to see the yellow in the moment, but I was happy, obviously, with the result. So
got Brendan saying Jared held his brakes. He did hold his brakes a little bit. It's part of strategy game at super speedways when you're controlling both lines. But Zach, I want to swing it over to you. You were in the booth watching it all break down. Break us down any key strategies or excuse me, key points of the race that you saw.
Everyone sucked.
That's every week.
a really good summary of the race. Everyone have a good night.
Oh man, I'm kidding. Well, I mean,
Are you though?
There are a lot of different ways that I could break this race down, and I think the strategy itself was broken down the way I thought it was going to go. I thought everybody was going to short pit to end that last stage. You could have split it up evenly. With the fuel number, you had about 10 extra laps should you split the stage, so you had enough for at least 1 or 2 green-white checkered finishes, maybe even 3 if you know how to fuel save under caution. And, there's a lot of different ways that race could have gone. I think there were a lot of hurt feelings at the end of it. I think we can all agree on that one, but it's The matter of when you break down the finish of that race is it's super speedway racing. There's no other way to put it. There's gonna be some hurt feelings. There's gonna be some people going for broke with 2 laps to go. There's gonna be a couple of people who think they are Dale Earnhardt Jr. and know how to drive both lanes, and it's different characteristics that come with super speedway racing. If you don't want that to happen to you, then don't get in your race car, don't get out on that track, and don't even bother racing. I'm just gonna state that for the record. If you think that you're gonna go out there and you're gonna get wrecked, well then congratulations, you can predict the future. You know exactly what's going to happen. If you come out of there not getting wrecked, then by all means, that is a good day. I don't care where you finish. If there is not a scratch on that car, it is a good day. But if you just walk out of that race with the mentality of how exactly can I do better? How exactly can I improve off of this? Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's a super speedway. The racing product there is entertainment based. Realistically, there is skill involved. I mean, clearly we just saw Adam win that race, so there is some skill involved. But
It's debatable.
I don't know. Carl won the practice race.
you can't walk out of that
So
race
much
thinking
luck.
you can't walk out of that race thinking that I'm the best in the world. I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. So if you're walking out of that race with the mentality of I did good, all is good, you're fine, man. You're chilling. There's no reason to get mad from some hurt feelings from netcode or all this jazz. Like just roll with it. The vibe is there. You're rolling into Rockingham next week. I mean, if you think that you had problems at Talladega, you're gonna have problems at Rockingham.
Well,
I
think
thought.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
Stephen. Go ahead.
You're fine.
I thought overall, like maybe I just missed it, but I thought overall the race went really well. I'm not
The race was
quite
great.
I'm not quite sure what sparked all the hurt feelings. We didn't have a big one. I mean, I know Steven had some hurt feelings. He did. That's fair.
I sparked it.
Oh, yes, you did. We talked about this though. It's I don't know. Super speedways and short tracks, man, they seem to bring out the worst in people for one reason or another. But we've certainly had worse races at super speedways. I thought everybody that I raced around, even if I didn't necessarily appreciate the way they were racing me in the moment, I thought everyone raced pretty smart. I only saw 1 or 2 really bad moves. One of them was the Brandvold move. That's a bad deal for a lot of drivers. Carl. Bad deal for Carl.
Carl.
Steven, what was the incident that took you? Was that same?
It was
It was the same one. Mhm.
I thought that's what I Carl, I apologize. I didn't realize that
It was
you were
Carl
not-
too.
Yeah, it was both of us.
Yeah, that was aside from that was the only like really bad move I saw all night. So, but it is what it is, man. You got to move on. We got 2 races left in the season. We can either go out there and have fun, or we can go out there and bicker. And I'm all about racing and having fun. So I hope everybody else can move on.
I agree with Adam. Perfect way to sum that up.
I
There's
think a
only-
lot of amends have been made between some of the parties with everything going on. The whole crazy thing is, like, I wasn't even upset that I got wrecked out of the race at the end of the day. Perfectly fine with it. Of just, championship chances are out the window. So it's honestly like a lot of pressure off of the shoulders. Just going out there and having fun.
I mean, if Mason doesn't show up, I
I
don't
mean,
know, man.
Yeah, anything's still possible. But I mean, we'll get into that points gap in a bit.
That points gap.
That points gap is something.
To touch on something Steven just said. So my championship hopes went out the window week 1 with Gateway. And my little run-in with Johnny, but and then Watkins Glen didn't help. That was a run-in with myself. But I will say I raced this super speedway a lot differently than I've raced them previously. I'm always like super worried about getting wrecked, super worried about doing this, that, or the other thing, and I think it keeps me out of making moves that you should make. Not even risky moves, just like moves you should make. But I didn't have any pressure last night. I just wanted to go out and try to have fun with it, and it had worked out for the first time. So maybe your luck will turn around here, Steven. You've had really good luck all season, though. It's just bad luck. Bad luck came at a unfortunate time for both of us, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of racing, and you bring up a good point of super speedway racing. Like, you don't have to be overly aggressive, but you do have to make certain moves
Yeah.
and try to stay in the ball game the whole race. You can't really just sit back anymore and hope it falls your way at the end. You have to be up at the front to avoid a large majority of the issues. But then again, we did see an issue up front coming to stage 2.
We
With
did.
Isaiah and Brendan Maddox, and I think Zachary Maddox coming across the front bumper of Camper. That stuff is bound to happen, but the way I think of it is, if you're up front, you're less likely to be involved in any of that. A bad push here and there happens still, but being back with
It didn't help
Carl
us,
and
Steven,
Richard
because
is
we were
not
in the
fun.
top 10.
We
So
were, but honestly, where we were at is where I consider the danger zone. Once you get into the second, third row and back, it becomes very hectic because life comes at you really fast there.
It is really odd because I have tended, and like I just mentioned, to be really overly conservative at these places. And you'd think the wreck's either going to happen going for the lead or right in the middle, and somehow it always seems to happen like right there at the end of the top 10. So not quite in the middle of the pack, but not not at in the front either. That like 8 to 13th is for some reason a very precarious place. So
I think
it's
I chalk up a
hard.
lot of that to those guys wanting to get up front because they see the front right there. So they'll make a move that's slightly more aggressive than needed.
Yeah, and it sucks being stuck too. You know what I mean? That,
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier, in stage 2, you go, I think I was in 4th or 5th, and then a lap later I was in 15th or 16th, and I didn't move. Like my car physically didn't go anywhere, and there wasn't anywhere to go. Like, especially if you're on the bottom, and I think that can get frustrating. You want to get up there, and people make mistakes. So
It's definitely part of it at the end of the day. Richard, Carl, we haven't really talked much to you guys about y'all's races. Either one of y'all
Don't
want to
talk
take
to
it away?
Richard about any of his races
I don't
recently.
think
I
Richard
mean,
wants to talk about his race.
Richard doesn't have many races recently.
no,
They
he doesn't
full
have
ones
He
many
has a lot of
anyway.
driving practice.
finishes lately. You gotta add that there at the end. Race.
Yeah.
finish.
Thanks, guys. No, I always look forward to super speedway racing. I always love super speedway racing. And for once, I was actually trying not to be aggressive like I usually am at these kind of races. I usually try to get up front as quickly as I possibly can and stay up there as long as I possibly can. But Talladega seems to be a kryptonite for me on qualifying for some odd reason. I can't qualify well at Talladega. Daytona, I can. I've got Daytona down. For some odd reason, Talladega doesn't vibe well for me for qualifying. So I ended up qualifying. I mean, back, with you, Adam. I think I was like, what, 18th, 19th, something like
You
that.
were a couple rows
Talladega
ahead of me.
Curse.
Yeah. So,
25th.
20, yeah. So I qualified terrible for the race. I was not happy about that. So I was just going to kind of chill back there and slowly make my way up through the field when it got closer to time near the end of the stage. And I had a moment that I could be like, all right, well, the outside seems to be somewhat moving. So I jumped up there to just kind of ride along. And I was behind, I want to say I was behind Zach King. And I was a good car length and a half, if not more, back from him. Still enough to be in the draft, but just kind of riding along, biding my time. And the inside line had a massive checkup from way up front. And it just kind of accordioned back. And just people weren't slowing down enough and just way too close for the middle of the field, honestly. And it just Skinner, Braxton Skinner got in the back of Cole Lewis, pushed him, got him out of line, and then just it looked like he just kind of kept going forward, and it got Lewis out of whack, and it shoved him right up into me, and it nosed me straight into the wall to start the race off. I had 8 minutes of damage. Didn't have a meatball, but my steering wheel was a good 15 degrees to the right, so I was driving around like that. And I just kind of had to wait for cautions to get damage repaired and just hope I didn't go laps down and stuff. So it really sucked. I did eventually have only like 20 seconds of damage left to get repaired. But that last restart, Zachary Brandvold just, I don't know why he was up there. I know we talked about it after the race, and he said he just had a lapse of judgment. I mean, everybody has them. It happens. So him starting as a lap down car in the middle of all the lead lap cars, and then he just didn't go. I don't know if he didn't have damage or if he had damage or if he just didn't have gear shift properly.
Heard he missed a shift.
Is that what it was? So yeah, he missed a shift,
sure.
and it ruined everybody behind him's chance to even get up front because I had enough speed to finally start making moves with people, and I was following Zach King trying to get up to everybody, and it didn't work out to my advantage. I mean, I got no stage points. I rode around basically in the back all race until like the last 10 laps. So and just my chase run has been just abysmal. I mean, I kind of squeaked into the chase a little bit by just 3 points, and then it's just been an abysmal chase for me. So it's not been fun, but I'm still enjoying it. So we're out here racing, having fun.
Hey,
We covered your run
still
into
had
the chase
32 people showing up
extensively.
for a third race of the chase. I think is pretty impressive there. So I don't know if it's the toxicity that we have sometimes or the friendships we make along the way, but either way, it's working. Carl, you had a couple incidents Tuesday.
Oh man, I actually had kind of the mentality of Roach. I just wanted to get in, just hang for a little bit, and because I'm not a good qualifier in general, just period. I'm just not a good qualifier. I think I've said that I don't know how many times. And then Tuesday comes around and I qualify fourth, and I'm like, oh, this is odd. I shouldn't be up here. So, Steven, I was right behind you. And then for the first stage, obviously, I mean, I felt good after the practice race. That first stage, we kind of, except towards the end, you and I kind of dominated. We had a really good mesh going. I could push you as hard as I could down the straightaway. I would give up a little bit of space just so I could cool my engine off a little bit. And then when we were exiting, 4 or 2 or 4, then I'd get right back on that bumper and give you another push. Maybe let up to the tri-oval, give you another push. I think we had a really good system going down. I feel like what hurt my night overall was inexperience. Brandvold trying to go mid-pack when there isn't, or third lane when there isn't that third lane. Just FYI, when you have cars on that second line, there is no third lane there. FYI. And then after that, it could have been worse. I was able to, when I spun, I was able to lock up the brakes for a little bit, and then when I finally got the car to not spin out to the left, I let off. It turned to the right and just broadsided the wall. It still gave me 6 minutes of damage, so I was recovering from that. And then in the third stage, it was Braxton Skinner, and I think it was Coulter Clark, but I think that was before the pit stops. But speaking of the pit stops, I had a great pit stop. I went from like 17th to 12th. I know there was some speeding penalties and stuff in there, but I had a great green flag cycle. I was like, man, if I can just get one more yellow, I can get a lot of this damage fixed. I could be up for the running. And then Braxton, we're talking in the chat here already. Again, inexperience was. First he was in front behind Coulter, and I was behind him, and he would jump to the right side for a little bit, then come back. Then he would go to the right side, and then he'd come back. And I'm like, dude, we're losing time, because we were below 180 at that point. Like, we were 177, 178, 179. It's like, guys, I can go faster injured. Like, you can't do that. You have to stay straight. And I know Braxton was, fighting those engine temps, which is crazy. This last couple of updates, man, I feel like 1-2 laps maybe, and you're redlining at their temps, like 280. And again, that's inexperience. You can't, especially if you want to go fast, you just got to let off the car in front. And I think that's another thing that led to some of these issues where it's super speedway. Everyone wants to go fast, but there's finesse to these. There is a strategy. There is a rhythm. It's not like a mile and a half or a short track. You do have to time stuff out, and you got to manage your, just like managing tire temps at any other track, you got to manage your engine temps, your engine oil temps. And I think that was another thing. And then just that unfortunate incident down the backstretch where, again, Braxton just didn't lift enough. He did share his onboard, and yeah, he lifted, but in some of those situations, you got to hit the brake, and it sucks. It really, really sucks. But sometimes you got to do that so that doesn't happen, because I think it was Plord in front, and we were behind Josh Anderson. and then it was me and Braxton. And something happened where either Josh was trying to get in line, was out of line, tried to get back, and something like that. And then I checked up, thinking, okay, I know this, and then it was just another accordion effect. And that essentially didn't seal it, but Brandvold's mistake on that inside line that really sealed the deal. I think I maybe could have had a top 10 depending on how it finished after the green flags, but that restart really hurt everything that I had. So it's just another super speedway race for me, another race in this season. Cannot wait for season 4.
Yeah, well, good thing for you is that's coming up real soon, and we do only have 2 races left. I feel like this season has flown by, for a majority of different reasonings.
I guess that happens when you're in the top 5 of points, all season long.
Oh, Carl, stop it.
Someone's
Hey,
bitter.
all I'm gonna say is last season my luck was just like how yours is this season. So I've
Oh,
been
I know.
there, and I understand
That's
it.
why I can pick on you, I feel.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
little
not
bit.
a fun place to be in when it seems like every week you're running into just a bad situation. No matter what you do, you always just find the mess, or the mess finds you. But going back to your comment about super speedways, you do need a lot of finesse. I think the most important position to be in a super speedway is right behind the person who's leading the pack. That person has to be able to balance so many different things. The car in front of them, the distance to them, obviously their temperatures, and then the car behind them. And it's really important that the car behind them is close, but not on their bumper, so that the person in second can be on the bumper all the time. And if you have 3 cars that can work together, you're pretty much unstoppable. At the end of the day, and I think that's what goes back to what I was saying earlier of if that yellow never came out at the end of the race, I think Maverick had it in the bag because they had at least 3 guys there, and they were working really well all race. And sorry, Adam, but you and Jared, I don't think we've been able to do anything to hold them off with just how well they were running it and controlling it. Y'all did have a little help, I will say, with CFM. Was it Selby and was it Catania that were up there battling near the end?
No, I think
Someone ended up
Catania
getting-
and Fritz had speeding penalties during that green flag pit stop, so I don't think they were up there.
We
I
we
think
didn't
when they
have
went a
the
lap
help.
down.
Yeah, we didn't have the help for sure before that yellow. I mean, guys were up there. I just don't think we would have been able to get linked up. You know what I mean? And Maverick was so close to each. Well, they were together. So, yeah, the yellow helped us. Yellows don't usually help me, but it did this time.
Once.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you have the leader, he needs to keep a straight line. You have the second in line, he has to push. That third car is just as important because you can't push that second car, but you have to be on that bumper. You have to use and manipulate that air bubble because I was watching the broadcast during lunch today, and I was seeing that, especially if that third car in line got separated from those first 2 cars, that slowed the entire line up. But how many times, and Zach, I know you were there, you mentioned it a couple times, where there was a pack of 3 cars, especially if something happened in the further back, if a pack of 3 cars got together, they could actually separate themselves for a little bit until everyone else got all gathered up.
I think that's one thing that the iRacing sim has really gotten down lately because a lot of people said that with this new next-gen car, it could potentially bring back tandem drafting and really make things a lot more difficult on the pack because we saw multiple times, I mentioned it to Andrew a couple of times. I want to say if I did, I did. If I didn't, I didn't. But, one thing I did notice was just like if the 2 leading cars got a little ways out in front, then they were able to create a small gap that the pack then had to catch back up to, which left them to be sitting ducks. And, even then you had the outside line working to its advantage as well. And that's one thing that you usually see when it's the next-gen cars. It's either all the way on the bottom or all the way on the top. It has to be one or the other because if you go in the sucker hole, I saw it happen to Patrick Hernandez. He got into the middle, just went straight backwards. The package that these cars have can just create all sorts of different characteristics when it comes to the racing.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
The side draft is huge. I mean, it was definitely part of the racing before this most recent update. But you really can I remember, I don't know if it was the last update or the one before that, but there was a couple super speedway races we ran as a league where you just couldn't pull out and make moves. Like you would need half of the line to pull out with you if you wanted to try to go forward. And you can do it with if the bottom and the middle lane are checked up enough or stalled out enough, you can make some moves with 2 cars. But if you have 3, you can really just, if you're willing to put your cars where they need to go, you can really make a lot of ground up. Jared and I passed at least 4 or 5 cars on the outside by ourselves at one point. We were kind of riding around in that middle lane, and I'm not sure who was leading it, but just some guys are better at pushing, some guys are better at taking pushes. So I'm not sure if that was what was happening up there or not, but we made it all the way to the front doing that at one point. So it's interesting, and if you, especially in that middle lane, if you can side draft those cars on the inside, you can really hold them back. Like if you have one guy side drafting the first or second car in the bottom line, you can really hold them back and kind of give yourself a chance to not get eaten up. I really, not just because I won, obviously I enjoyed it because of that, but that was really the most enjoyable super speedway race I've ran in quite a while, if I'm being honest.
Well, I'm glad you felt that way.
I'm sorry, buddy.
But Zach, you brought up Patrick Hernandez, and Patrick Hernandez was our winner of the Meatball fan vote this week for his self clear of I think it was Dakota Camper. I don't even remember it happening during the race, but watching back to the clips of the broadcast that Zach King posted for us, I feel like that was a well-deserved fan meatball of this week. And for our meatballs this week, Zach, are you familiar with our meatball of the week?
Somewhat. I keep forgetting to send Rev my address because apparently he has a meatball sticker waiting for me.
Yes, he does. In fact, you got one week 9.
Yeah, I heard I got nominated for it. I'm not sure how or what I could have done to receive such a prestigious award, but I am forever grateful to my fan base.
Whatever you did, it must have been very egregious.
Yeah, it was something to do, I think, with how many turns Pocono had.
Oh no, not this again.
Oh boy.
Down the rabbit hole we go.
But that being said, I want you to go ahead and pick your meatball of the week first. So whoever you think made a bonehead move per se, or something along those lines. Take it.
Bonehead moved, goofy
my
situation.
meatball of the week. Oh man. Oh, you're putting me on the spot here.
We love to do it.
I think out of all the moves that I noticed throughout the broadcast, I think the thing that ticked me off the most, and this is saying something because I don't usually get ticked off, was it's either going to go to Selby or Catania for trying to race each other for the lead lap when they were racing with the leaders and breaking up their lead pack. So, who was out in front more? Selby or Catania? Who was in front of the other more?
It honestly felt pretty even from where I was watching. And then I guess on top of that, their pit road entrance scenario was something.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Selby just because he shot straight through the pit entrance and went into the grass.
I feel like that's pretty well deserved. And Adam, we'll go to you next.
Well, we already talked about my first initial picks. My initial pick was the lap cars up there doing shenanigans with the leaders with a couple laps to go. So I guess I'll have to just go back to the only one that I really stood out to me other than the pit road thing, and that's to Brandvold for the lack of judgment that caused the end to quite a few drivers' races, or at least a premature closing.
Fortunately, those happen.
They do.
That they do.
I think Rev has my address, and I have not gotten my meatball sticker yet. So I waited 2 seasons to get nominated for a meatball.
Well, Richard.
I'm going. Okay. I'm probably going to have to go with Braxton Skinner.
Oh no.
I know,
no.
because I didn't really see much else. Like, I mean, I watched a race. I mean, I could give it to Patrick Hernandez. I mean, the fans did that, but just because like it was the middle of the field, and I get it. There was a checkup. Trust me, I get it. And yeah, it did kind of take me out of contention, but it's one of the things. I mean, I had to learn it also when I first got into iRacing, and in for a while, just like on super speedways, just kind of give some space it like further back in the pack on a super speedway. You just don't be as close, and when you see the checkup, just make sure you start getting into the brakes and getting off the gas, or a mixture of both, because obviously if you do both at the same time, you're going to lose way too much momentum. So there's a way to kind of finesse the gas and the brake together to not lose complete momentum, but to still stay off the car in front of yours bumper. So but that's all it was, just for that. But other than that, I didn't really see much. Of course, I wasn't even around cars much often to do much. So
That's a good point. But I figured you were going to go there with that, and I have a feeling I know where Carl's going to go, but we'll hear from him.
You know, there's so many little things that I can pick on, and that's, I think that gets me, I can't say more frustrated, just the little things that pile up versus one big thing. I did get to finish the stage, so I was happy about that. I think I am going to give this to Dustin Stallings.
Oh,
No.
I'm sorry. No, not Dustin. Isaiah Sutherland. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was wondering
I was
if
super
someone
confused.
Yeah.
I was
sorry.
wondering if someone was going to pick Isaiah. It
Yeah.
was right there in the back of my head because I was thinking about it for myself, but I really couldn't put a pin on it for it. But I'm sure somebody was going to pick it.
Yeah, because I know we had an alliance, and don't get me started on alliances. That's another thing I'm a little
We had a
peeved
click.
at.
We had a
Gotta
click.
love it.
But I think Isaiah Sutherland, because we were allied with him, and he comes out and says, "Oh man, I feel like I was on the line. I wasn't below the line." And watching the replay back, he's like, "You were all four below the line there, buddy. I'm sorry, but you were there." And fortunately, it didn't do too much damage to Brendan. And Isaiah really just did take the brunt of that. So I'm gonna put salt on the wound, and unfortunately,
That's
call
an
out Isaiah on that one.
understatement. That is an understatement.
I think that's a good pick. Afterwards, I had a conversation with Isaiah about it because, like you were saying, Carl, in the moment he didn't feel like he was in the wrong. And after reviewing it a couple times, I think he finally saw it, and he was just trying to get too many points at that time where it just wasn't necessary. He would have been in a lot better point situation having just finished the race and giving up a couple stage points. But it's the game you play, and at this point in the season, you kind of have to be desperate, especially with that points lead that Mason has. But obviously, I am going to, if I can find my mouse, I'm going to go with Nicholas Runner. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna go. Man, I was ready for a whole night of more general talk.
I'm just.
I think if he actually chose Renner, I probably would have done what he did last week when Carl went on his rant and be like, "I'll be right back."
Done.
No,
I'll be back later.
I just got to go back to Brandvold for the the unfortunate incident where he was just basically indecisive of trying to stay on that bottom line with a run, or trying to make it 3 wide. But again, there wasn't space for 3 wide when I'm right there on the outside on basically right on Carl's side. So it's just one of those deals. It's super speedway racing, wrong spot, wrong time, and unfortunately he made a mistake, but he owned up to it, and it's all good. But yeah, no Patrick from any of us. I didn't see the Patrick incident until well after the race. If I had seen that in race, I definitely probably would have gone with that incident, but got to pick one.
Yeah, that was definitely tough to watch there.
Yeah.
It's like, what spotter do you have where you're being told you're clear, but he's actually to your outside. He's there. And another thing is, and another thing that kind of gets me about that is single screen, if you're on the single screen, it is hard to see
Hmm.
out the right side. It really is. So it's hard to judge. But if you're listening, you can hear that car there. You can really hear the cars very well if you're paying attention. So it's one of those like, yeah, even if you heard clear, you got to use some of your other senses just to make sure. Because I know I use Crew Chief because I don't use the iRacing spotter. I haven't used the iRacing spotter in years. And I've gotten used to how he calls stuff out. I know they've made changes and improvements to the iRacing spotter, but I haven't been brave enough to go back. So it's just one of those where you also have to use your best judgment. If you know there's an outside line there, you know there's someone there, there's going to be someone there, you have to use other senses and a better judgment.
And I think a lot of that's also just about awareness of like constantly looking in your mirror and in front of you to determine where people are going to be, even if you don't see them. But one of those things that you learn over time. I mean, we've known Patrick for a couple seasons now, and um, unfortunately, his super speedway driving is very aggressive. I think is a good way to put it, and it puts him in bad situations at times.
And just to touch on what Carl said, I feel like some of us take for granted what people know and what they don't know. There is a program you can download. It's very easy to use and get working. It's called Crew Chief, and it's essentially a replacement for the iRacing spotter, and it does, in my opinion, a way better job than the stock iRacing spotter does. It gives you, and I don't know what the iRacing spotter does and doesn't do now because I haven't used it in a really long time, but it counts down your pit stall for you. It does a really good job at letting you know when you have a car on your inside or outside. I remember when I was using the iRacing spotter, it didn't even, I don't even think it registered 3 wide at the time. The Crew Chief will do that for you. You can even do things like if you're maybe a little overly aggressive, you can set in Crew Chief a little extra padding for when he calls you clear or for when he calls you not clear. So it's a really useful tool. It's free, super easy to use. So I would recommend everybody check it out.
Not a sponsor.
I'm not a sponsor, but I started using it about 2-3 years ago, and I literally have not turned on the iRacing spotter pack since. And he'll cuss
I
at you if you
Yes,
suck,
love
which
the
is
cuss
fun.
pack.
I would use it if I could get it to work.
Oh, you've
Every
gotta
time I've
get
tried to
the cuss
download it,
pack
I
for
can't
him.
get it to work. I like using the Jimmy Johnson
Really?
spotter pack. It's weird. I've
That's
tried
crazy.
Race Labs and I've tried Crew Chief, and each time I download them, I can't get them to work. The one time I got Race Labs to work, it overlaid out of the sim instead of in the sim. So I don't understand what was happening there. But to your point about the iRacing spotter, it does count you down now. It
Oh,
does
good.
do a lot of extra things with calling you clear and just being a little bit overly aggressive. It actually tells you now how long your optional repair is before you get back to the pit lane, and it can and tire wear. And
Wow.
if you download the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack, you can get Chad Knaus cussing in your ear, and you can get Jeff Gordon as a pre-race interview. So whoop-de-doo.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the tire wear and the optional damage on. That's actually super useful. Maybe I just don't have my Crew Chief set up to do that, but I don't know if
They've
that's
Crew Chief,
added.
Crew Chief does not do damage. I've
okay.
checked and cannot find it and doesn't do it, but it does do tire wear. I also like Crew Chief because it tells me fuel, it tells me splits, it tells me all sorts of things. Like if it helped with damage, okay, that's cool. But usually when I get damage, I know I have damage and I need to get it fixed anyway, so it's
Kind
not
of
that big
obvious.
of a deal for
That's
me.
fair.
Isn't it?
I
Doesn't Crew Chief also? Can't you like say commands into Crew Chief to tell it what you want to do? Like if you want to take 4 tires, you can tell it to set your stuff for 4. If you want to take 2, you can do it for 2. No fuel, you can tell it to do no fuel, stuff like that.
In
I
theory, yes. Can't get
uh,
it. I can't figure that out.
I've never used it either. A lot of
It's like
I
people
use
voice
sim
really,
racing apps
command.
for that.
yeah, a lot of people really like Race Labs and these other overlay services. I've never I tried it. I didn't care for it. It just I guess it was just more information than I cared to have in front of me while I was racing. I think is more so what it was, but there's lots of tools out there, so just talk to your fellow iRacers if you think you're missing out because you might be.
There are a lot of good
I want to
options.
get some. I want to get one of them at least. because I am
All of them.
so tired of the normal iRacing overlays. Plus, I want to start streaming too, so I want to use cool overlays. I want to
I
actually have stuff that looks cool, you know?
see. Yeah, Race Labs has a nice overlay. They look nice. They're very aesthetically pleasing. I hear a lot of issues with them. Especially it's very sensitive to updates, from what I understand, both iRacing, Windows, and stuff. Personally, I use iRacing apps. It's not pretty to look at, but it's very functional and it does not take up hardly any resources. I have 4 screens. On my top screen, I have one huge thing. It has a track map, especially helpful during road races. I can do pit commands through it. It shows me splits. I can choose radio channels. It gives me all the weather data. I can't go back. I'm addicted to it.
I use iOverlay. It's a free one to use, and like you can pay for it. It's got pro options to use, but it's got a lot of great functionality to it as well. I'm not overly heavy into the overlay usage, but it's got the running order for me. It's got a relative window for me, so I can have both the running order and the relative up at the same time. I've got a track map, like Carl said. When I'm streaming on Twitch or whenever I'm just live streaming in general, like for this weekend for the Sebring 12, I've got Twitch chat up also on my screen so I can read it. But it's got a lot of pro functions also that you can go and pay and be able to use those functions. But it also has, I think it's only like $5 a month or something like that for their pro, and it's got the actual spotter thing where it has indicators saying, hey, there's a car high, hey, there's a car low. So it's also a really good one. You should check out iOverlay as well.
Yeah, and their fuel calculator, and it also tells you when someone last pit, the whatever their stint
Yeah, you can see
number.
their stint. You can see
Super
when they
helpful.
pit. It's another thing that's like just it's really customizable of what information each of those relative or your running order can show. So it is a wonderful, highly customizable overlay.
Only. But before we
Not
get
me immediately searching stuff because apparently Carl is now sending me stuff over Discord. It's like, hey, go look at this. Go look
there are
at
really
this.
good options.
Well,
And
there are rumors
the
that someone's picking it up, so it's not
Oh, by the
completely
way, we're
done.
talking about iRacing apps because again, the bodiless
Disembodied
voice
voice.
you guys can't hear. So
But yes, Robert is right. The creator of it did retire, but there's rumors that people are picking it up. It is open source, so if you're handy with coding and stuff, you can get on there, adjust widgets, make your own stuff. I
I'm
really
not.
like it. It's
I'm
simple.
not.
So it's just one of those things where I got turned on to it somehow from someone. I don't remember where I found it, but I've downloaded it and used it ever since. Even on my broadcasting, you can put it to a spotter broadcaster. Does all the same things. You can see who's talking. You can see the track map where they are. You can see their times, their latest pit stop, the pit stop time in the box. I mean, it helps me so much in all the things.
It is really useful for a lot of different uses. And before we get into standings and all, just want to go over real quick some last notes from the race. We had 16 different leaders, which is a very large amount, but it is a super speedway. It's kind of expected. Half the field led a lap. 28 different lead changes. Another very high number. That's right up there with all-time lead changes in BRB. And only 3 cautions for incident. I guess technically 4, because one of them was at the stage end. But with that being the stage end, the official is only 3.
Can you really
yes,
count it?
Steven, what's up with that light show in your background?
Here, I'll fix it.
We were just like someone said it, and I looked, and I'm like, "What in the heck?"
Whenever I update my Windows,
Windows
my
freaking update,
HyperX
I swear.
mic light
Oh,
freaks
that's your
out.
mic. Oh, it looked
Yeah.
like
That's your mic. That
it
looks
looked
like a
like it.
computer.
It looked like
Looks like the
something.
tower.
It looked like something small behind you. I noticed it as soon as we started. I was like, "What is that? Is that his
Oh.
computer back there?" But it's your mic in front of you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it is
that makes
understand.
my mic.
sense.
And every time my computer has an update, it does that until I open the HyperX app. And it's not working.
I have my I have the same mic. I'm assuming the Quadcast S, I
Yes.
think is what it's called.
Yes.
But I leave my light off when it's not muted, and when I'm muted, then it's lit up.
See,
Yo,
mine's the
Gato Wave
opposite.
3, baby. No fancy lights, just fantastic audio quality.
Hey, RGB adds so much value to everything. You know this.
This was $40 off at Best Buy, so I bought it.
Oh,
I
boy.
like my Blue Yeti. Thank you, Robert, for this one. I've
OG.
absolutely love this
Wait,
mic.
did you get a free one from Robert?
No, actually, he just said, I was like, man, because I used to have this. I used to use it. It was okay, but my cat chewed on it. And it messed up all the audio. And I was like, okay, I need a standalone mic. And Robert's like, hey, check out this and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I bought it because I think it was on sale. Got it for like $70. And oh, man, amazing.
These headphones are amazing.
My
They're
old headphones right here.
Logitech
Yeah.
G Pro Wireless X, also not sponsored. But the mic was trash on it. I used it for like a week, and it was pretty terrible.
Most
Ooh.
of the built-in mics are terrible.
I don't know. Zach sounds good. It sounds like he's talking to his mic. That's not terrible.
Yeah, Zach,
Yeah.
what are you wearing on your head, buddy?
Well,
That looks like Razer.
Ones or are they Razer?
I think it's
I have a
Razers.
Razer.
an
I know these are
Astro
Razers. I don't know what they are,
A10,
but-
if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, it's an Astro? That's not a Razer?
It's the
No.
Xbox.
Oh, wow.
A10.
Oh,
It's like an
okay, that
Xbox
makes sense.
headset. It's got a splitter for the mic and the headphones. Now,
Yeah, I gotta be honest, that's a good headset mic.
I don't know, man. Every single time I get a new mic, everyone just says, "Well, it sucks." And then
Well,
I
it
got
sucks.
this freaking microphone over here, and I've been told this sucks too. So, little
think-
reference to a radio sweetheart moment that I had during an Xfinity race at Watkins Glen one
That
time.
mic, you asked us earlier, which one sounded better? You obviously went with the headset. That other one sounded awesome. You just have to adjust the gain down because you were just beyond loud. That was
No
the
clue how to do
only
it.
thing that I saw or
No
heard.
clue how
So,
to do that.
does it have
I'll figure it
software?
out. I think so. I just forgot to.
And this guy is in the booth. Can you believe this guy?
Look, man, okay,
Zach is a
I
car guy, not a
drive race
computer
cars.
guy. All right.
Fair,
I
fair,
spent
fair.
half an hour trying to take off a freaking bolt just to change my oil earlier today. Okay, it's
Goodness.
we have
Oh,
established
man.
that I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay. But that
y'all-
bolt
It's all right,
was
Zach, we
not
love
my
you.
fault, so
Y'all
that
have
bolt wasn't my
headphones.
fault.
I use IEMs and I love these things.
Oof, I couldn't do that. That would hurt my ears after like 30 minutes.
Oh,
Look,
these
man,
things are comfy.
I just drive the cars. That's all I do. I just drive them.
All right, Noah.
He sounds like Johnny. Johnny Wood Jr. also does not
No,
understand. Dude, when we got Johnny onto Limitless and I was trying to get him with his paints set up, I had to walk him through how to save his paints, create a folder, and save them to that folder, and then walk him through how to upload them to the league paint schemes and trading paints. He's like, I know nothing of computers. I set it up and I can race, and that's all I needed.
Spoken like a true driver.
I have so many stupid stories of just going to the racetrack. No, let me break this down for you, right? So I'm driving down 85 to go to Charlotte, right, for the Cookout Summer Shootout. So I'm supposed to be racing this day, and I have a buddy of mine there who's a photographer. He came down from Pennsylvania to Charlotte to go to the racetrack to shoot photos for the day. Because I guess, like Kyle Busch's kid was there, Keelan Harvick was racing, Carter McMurray was racing. So you've got famous NASCAR stars, right? So I'm already running late, okay? I'm going to be pulling in the second drivers meeting is starting. And they do random roll call, okay? So if you are not there for roll call and they call your name and you're not there, you start the tail end of every single feature you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in a B main or if you're in the A main. If you are in the A main and you got missed at roll call, you're starting at the tail end, so you're behind the guys that transferred in through the B main. So it's chaos. So thankfully they didn't call my name, but I called him up and I had to call him. I'm like, hey, can you register me? Can you go get my transponder or whatnot? Can you put it on my race car? Because as I'm driving down 85, I hit a piece of metal on the highway and blew out my left rear tire, and I was less than 2 miles from the speedway, literally like 4 minutes. So you know what I did? You know what I
Oh.
did? I pulled over into a gas station. I filled it up as much as I possibly could. I slapped painter's tape on that tire, and I drove it the rest of the way to the racetrack.
Oh man,
That's awesome.
That's industrious right there.
Yes. I will
wanna
not be
say that,
denied when it comes to getting into a race car.
The BRB Hauler podcast does not recommend or are qualified to recommend mechanical advice when repairing your car. Please don't sue
Wait
us.
a minute. I am a former ASE Master Tech, so
Please don't listen to Carl.
Former. That is a
Former.
big difference.
Don't listen to me. I do stupid things and pay a lot of money for it.
Painter's tape is in fact not airtight.
It is not. I can confirm. That
Shocker.
tire was
I know.
flat by the time I got there. I think I rolled up to the racetrack with about 2 psi left in that tire.
Better than one, I guess.
oh man.
Well, let's move on over to our standings currently and see where everyone sits after a fun day at Talladega.
Honestly, it was a fun day. Like the race was not bad overall.
It could have been so much worse, and Adam hit on it. We've had worse races at super speedways, and it was just unfortunate. It's on some of the incidents, but man, look at that gap, 67 points, and Jared Hughes, go him in second place.
Yeah, I'm
Go him indeed.
super pumped for Jared, man. He's just Jared. Well, the first race we had without fast repairs, he took an L pretty
No.
hard right in the beginning.
Richard.
I know, thanks.
No thanks to Richard. But aside from that, I'm having a hard time remembering Jared having a bad race this season. He's just done really, really well. It's cool to see him up in second. And suddenly, Talladega, I mean, I knew it would get shaken up going into Talladega. I didn't realize how much, though, because I think first of all, I think I was in 10th, and I was 50 or 45 points behind 5th. And now suddenly I'm in 8th, and I am,
Not a lot.
29 points out of 4th, out of 4th, or out of 3rd even. So
Shocker
it's
what
great.
a win can do.
It's a good time. If I had some stage points, I'd be a little further up. But no,
I
it's
mean, maybe just being greedy.
the battle. I know. What can I say? So from 2nd all the way to 9th, I mean, that can flip next week. So it's interesting. The battle throughout the chase is it's going to be very entertaining spot for spot. Mason obviously is going to have some kind of catastrophic failure. For anybody,
You have to have that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would.
Well,
And-
yeah, one catastrophic failure and one not so great race, and then you have Jared or Isaiah or Brendan have a really, really good race. But it's going to be really hard for anybody to make that up. So looking forward to seeing the rest of the battles, though.
Gotta feel bad for Johnny as well, because last night he was unable to show up to the race. He ended up having
Tuesday
a really
night.
bad. I'm sorry, Tuesday night. He ended up having a really bad lung infection.
Ooh.
So he couldn't make the
Oh.
race. Yeah. So
I didn't wanna
unfortunately, he
s-
says he's doing a lot better now, so that's good. But that was why he wasn't at Talladega. I think he could have been up there, definitely knocking on some doors,
Oh, sure.
getting that point gap closer. So unfortunate, but things like that happen.
I didn't want to speculate on why he wasn't there. Johnny, I don't know if you watch the podcast or if you're watching right now, but
He's in chat.
oh, good. I hope you're feeling better, buddy. Didn't realize you were sick, so sorry you weren't out there with us this week, but looking forward to seeing you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, and going back to Jared, having a great chase thus far. Leading it off at Worldwide Tech, he finished 3rd, and then the week before Talladega at blanking Watkins Glen, he finished 2nd.
And then what, 4th or 5th at Dega?
5th or 6th, something like that at Dega. For whatever reason, my SimRacer hub froze up, but yeah, he's been very consistent to start the chase, and it's unfortunate with how consistent he's been that he's still 67 points behind Mason. I think that just comes to show of Mason has taken his talents to the quote unquote next level in the chase, and he's really put the foot on the gas and grown that gap.
Not only that, but that just shows, how our point system is set up to reward, regular season excellence. Mason had a lot of stage wins, he had a lot of race wins. So he was able to, I don't remember what the gap was when the chase started, but it was a good sized gap going into the chase. So that just shows, the regular season can mean a lot, and stage wins, even if you're not necessarily getting race wins, can mean a lot. So that's what happens when you kick ass every week, man. You end up with a 67-point gap, I guess.
Yeah, and yes, Johnny, it's true. Huffing glue is not a smart idea.
Whoa.
Again,
No,
BRB, the Hauler podcast does not recommend.
He is starting a new business with a few of his friends or something of the other like that, and it's a shirt business for very vague details. But I guess they use this glue to help to get the shirts like stay still or stay still when they're trying to put the graphics on them. And I guess one of the guys was going a little heavy on the spraying of the glue, and that's what happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Don't hang
Well-
around glue.
Well, I'm
Don't-
glad to hear Johnny is at least doing good. I am very glad to hear.
Jared,
he is
that a
doing
true
better.
stat? No
All
way.
season.
What
Really? Jared hasn't led a single lap all season?
That can't be right.
Consulting Sim Racer Hub.
Jared Hughes has
Verifying.
17 lead laps this season. I don't
So
think
that
he's
is
at 17
not
yet.
right because he he led 16 laps at Talladega. So
So
where
he had
is
one
that
lap
other?
somewhere else.
Yes.
But
let's
either
see.
way, only having one lead lap at the rest of the season, I'm shocked.
Jared led a lap at Atlanta.
Oh, well, there. So the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know how that race went.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that was one of the races going back to what you said at the beginning of the podcast, Zach, where you win a super speedway race, you're not coming out of there thinking you're the best, but I would think the driver that won that race was thinking he was the best.
Mm,
I did pretty good.
mm.
See, that's what happens when you sniff too much glue.
Oh, I wonder about him sometimes also.
Sometimes.
All
Oh,
in good
man.
fun, King. All in good fun.
I'm gonna get brutalized by Saab. Just watch.
Probably. Gotta watch out for that guy. He's tricky.
That's okay.
He didn't even come get a quote from me for my victory. Kinda
I
salty
know
about
he
that.
was
Wow.
slacking this week. Saab
little
was
salty.
slacking this week.
Oh, he had a rough week. A tough dust up with a certain driver.
He did. He did
Who-
indeed.
Doesn't have a week where they dust up with a certain driver. Just saying.
Same certain driver. But I don't have updated non-chase standings, but I can read them off actually because I have them up in Sim Racer Hub. So 13th is Scott Fritz. He has a 38-point lead over 14th, being Evan Patinko, followed by Carl Pooler, Zach King, Zach Brandefold. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak. Zachary Brandvold, Eric Jensen, Cody Dorsey, and Sam Dyer round out the top 20. Robert, I know everyone watching can't hear you, but what's going on? You slipped back to 25th.
No
He
comments. He
don't-
says.
Don't want to talk about it.
Robert
Yeah.
pleads the fifth. Okay. So he admits that Sam's better. Got it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's like 23 points
Oh.
back from Sam Dyer, his arch nemesis. So you've got a lot of work to do, Robert.
Yeah, there's no well.
Rough days ahead. Very
That
rough
being
days
said,
ahead.
it seems like Scott
Meow.
Fritz, I don't want to say has locked up that 13th spot because 38 points isn't a lot, but I mean that's a pretty decent gap. But
You get 2
he
stage
has-
wins, you can knock that down to
Yeah, but-
16 points. Then you that can be taken away in one race. Anything
ooh, I don't know.
anything 50 points and under can be taken away in one race. Just look at it this way. Say you finish dead last. Let's take Brandvold or King for example, right? If one of them were to win both stages, that's a stretch. Win both stages and win the race, then say Scott was to finish dead last, then they would jump in by what, 11, 14 points?
I mean, yes, that is in a perfect world scenario. And I think there's only a handful of drivers, if even a handful of drivers, that have done that this season of winning both stages and the race. And I mean, you're looking at the caliber of drivers of Mason, Johnny, and Isaiah. And that's not to short anyone else out, but realistically speaking, I think that's what you're looking at. If those three can make that happen, I don't know if anyone else can. Am I wrong thinking that?
What's that?
Because it's 40 points for the win, 20 points
I
for
see.
stage wins,
45
and
for a
then 45 or
Yeah, 45 for
okay. So there's 45. I think we did the math. The best perfect ace 67 points because you get points for leading a lap, points for leading the most laps, and then all the stage points. So 67 points per race are possible.
Right, yeah, 67 or 68.
Something like that.
68 points per race. Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
that's actually a lot more than I thought.
In a
And that
perfect
still
world.
means that
Perfect world.
mathematically Jared is still eligible.
No, of course. I mean, within one race, he's still mathematically eligible, but in that scenario, that would require
I mean-
him to not be in attendance.
Yes,
Yeah,
period. 0
mathematically-
points.
All the chase drivers have a chance, except maybe Dustin Stallings.
Correct.
Ooh. Way to
Well, no,
single
even
out
Dustin Stallings said 60. It's 136.
6.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's 136, so-
mathematically, it's possible.
Mathematically, every single chase driver still has a chance. Realistically, no.
Realistically, though, like let's put it into perspective just for a moment here. The only ones that have a very realistic chance, because everyone outside of that is just has fallen away. The top 4, I would say, are the only ones that still realistically have a solid chance, because Jared could close 30 points on Mason in one race and 30 points in another race, or 34, whatnot, win by 1 point if I do that math correctly. But it's possible. You know,
Right.
Mason needs to have a really bad race, but it's absolutely possible.
It is definitely possible, and I completely agree that you're really looking at those top 4 now at this point. Because once you get back to Johnny, of not only are you at a points deficit, you also have to jump 4 other guys, which becomes increasingly more difficult the more people you have in front, because then you're relying on them to have bad days as well. Just for an example of trying to pull up race results, and in a perfect world, so Dakota Camper and Brendan Maddox tied for the most points this past week at Talladega, at 48 apiece. The least was, not to call him out, but Coulter Clark with 13. So you're looking at, was that 35-point swing? And that's the top and the bottom points in a race, and Jared would need to do that twice.
I don't know. Jared, throughout the chase, has kind of surprised me. You mentioned his finish at Watkins Glen. I mean, besides Stephen wrecking on early on and still making his way up there, that was kind of shocking too. But Jared's been making methodical gains throughout the chase. So again, if Mason were to have 2 really bad races, it is very possible.
It's not over, but after Rockingham, we will have a clear picture of obviously what needs to happen for anyone else to have a shot. I like what Dakota Bless said in chat. If Mason clinches early, early being next week at Rockingham, can we make him run a street stock at Homestead, and everyone else actually get a chance to have fun and win a race? I feel like I'm down with that.
Late model stocks, Hickory. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, we're not changing the schedule now. We got to finish the season at Homestead.
I say we go back to Charlotte.
Hey,
Ooh.
we'll go back to Charlotte next season.
This is true.
But I mean, that can wrap up our standings overlook, and I mean, I guess that naturally rolls us into Rockingham talk. I don't know how much any of y'all have run Rockingham recently. I know we ran it back in season 1,
It's a short track. That's all you got to know about it. It's a short track.
According to the vote, it is classified as a short track.
Yes.
I do agree that it's a short track. I gotta admit.
It drives a lot like a short track, but there are parts of it that feel like an intermediate. It's a great balance of both, honestly. And last time we went there, Gavin Rogers won with an absolutely dominating effort, leading 155 of the 179 laps. The one thing I remember of that race is Dustin Stallings' tire saving ability and how important saving your tires is at the Rock, especially if we have long runs, which I would think after a while, I think there might be some attrition early on with how difficult the track surface is. But after that plays out, it could easily become a tire saving game.
Yeah, I went back and I completely forgot we ran it. I made a comment about this earlier in my interview on Tuesday. I had even told Andrew and Zach, I've never ran this in a cup car before because I completely forgot about it for some reason. But I decided to do some homework and look back on it and found the broadcast from that race from I guess it was season 1. I finished second, which is cool. I don't remember it, but I did. But a couple of things did come back, as far as the memory. Like Steven just alluded to, the tire savings was huge. I know one thing that really helped me is I figured out pretty early on, a lot of tracks you can tire save, with your line and with your wheel, like with your wheel input and how much you're sawing or not sawing on the wheel. But Rockingham for me was all about saving those rears and being really gentle and consistent on the throttle, not getting too antsy to throttle up in the middle of the corner, and not scrubbing too much speed off and letting that car really roll through the center so you don't feel super anxious to get back on the throttle. Hopefully I don't have a repeat of that race and my power doesn't go out when the race starts and I just have to start the race 2 laps down. But it races a lot like, I don't know, like maybe and I'm not a statistics expert, but I don't believe it's as banked as Dover, but it does race similar to Dover. I went back and watched some of my in-car, and I drive it very similar to the way I drive Dover. So looking forward to it. Hopefully we can put on a good race.
I think.
Yeah, it's.
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, it's all about the tire saving, and it's you really have to balance it. If you enter the corners too hard, you burn up those fronts, you burn up that right front, and then it makes it harder to turn. But if you're on the throttle too hard too early, it gets that right rear warm, and then you get slick. And if I remember correctly, that's what happened to me. I was doing okay, got some stage points, and then in the third stage, got a little antsy and got a little too heavy on the throttle, and I spun myself, took myself into the inside wall. So it's also, if I remember right, it's also very bumpy. It's pretty rough.
It is. It's very
on the
bumpy.
arms and the suspension. So that's another thing drivers are going to have to be aware of is where the bumps are, when to get on the throttle, when to get on the brake, and just negotiate your way through the traffic on top of all that. I feel like it is a combination of Dover and Richmond, which really sucks because I'm not great at either of those. So it's going to be interesting to say the least.
I'm excited and slightly nervous to see because it's not going to drive like it did in season 1. So you could pretty much take a lot of the things other than tire saving out of it, because iRacing has changed a lot since we ran our first season. The tire, I think we're on a totally different tire model now. The setups are different. The damage model on the car is different. So I think the overall strategy to the race will be the same, but definitely going to have to pick up some new tricks between today and Tuesday.
To my knowledge, it's still the Cup cars have not gone on to the V10 tire model just yet.
Soon.
My mistake.
Yeah.
But
tires should still be the same as the last time you guys ran it. The difference being, actually no, because it wouldn't even then, because with Rockingham being repaved, it provides different characteristics of the track, but they haven't exactly gone in and updated it in iRacing yet. But I can confirm, to my current knowledge at least, from hearing around like local teams in the short track community, is that the pavement is still diamond grade, so it's gonna be pretty heavy on those tires.
For sure.
Don't we have an aero update though since last time? I mean, of course it's a short
Yes.
track, but I still could make a difference.
There's multiple changes. I mean, we noticed a huge change. They didn't change, the tire model or anything, but I think we all remember Homestead from a couple seasons ago where we all practiced 1,000 laps. The update happened on Tuesday, and we had to literally postpone the race because the car was so different and the setup was broken. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting for sure. I know a lot of people probably haven't ran Rockingham, so I hope everyone's out there putting them in practice tonight.
Oh
And,
yeah, broken sets, baby.
Woo-wee.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. And Robert, thank you for putting this team standings graphic up. I always forget to include this one.
It's easy to forget when you're straight dominating.
Thank you.
Ooh.
We got Meatball Motorsports featured this week. They were the top point-getting team this past week at Talladega, but the team standings shake out as this next level remains on top with 521, followed by Maverick Motorsports 49 back, Limitless Esports 58 back, 61 back being Racers for Christ, and then you have Accelerate Racing, CFM Esports, Full Send Racing, Freaky Fast Racing, Meatball Motorsports, and Showtime Racing rounded it out. I think this one is a foregone conclusion at this point. Realistically, I mean, it's still possible. Again, if we're going into that mathematically talk, you can gain 40 points a race if another team doesn't show up. But other than that, it's really hard to scratch and claw your way back.
I'm glad that we're performing well in the team standings because Next Level Motorsports would look pretty silly in like 9th. So
yeah, I would agree. But if no other comments on this, we can resume our Rockingham and even go into our Rockingham predictions for who we think is going to be the winner. And
let's do it.
Zach Mertes, since again you are, I would say, our special guest. Not saying Adam is not a special guest, but
I'm not special.
I
just want a super speedway race.
Times. Yeah,
Race winner, race car driver.
There you go. There you go.
I also drove race cars, sir.
When did you drive race cars?
Back in
I
his
drove
day,
I drove
they were horses.
SCCA for a little while. Drove Trump Car for a little.
Back in his day.
Back when I was a young whippersnapper.
How many years ago?
About 5 years ago was the last
Damn,
time
he really
I did
had
it.
to think about that one.
Well,
Really
I'm
had to sit
old.
there and think. How old are you?
36.
36. Wow, you're 12 years older than me.
Once again, Adam
Thanks,
is-
man. Papa Buzzio.
I'll be 24 in a month. So
This guy.
I can tell you
Oh,
it doesn't
boy.
get better. Disembodied voice would like everyone to know he's twice my age.
yeah, and I'm trying to go race freaking Daytona next year. So
Oh man, I love giving a voice to our disembodied voice. By the way, I don't know if I'm. Jared Hughes in the chat said I race steam powered cars. That was my last year I raced. My first couple of seasons they were horse drawn. So
Yeah.
I respect
And his theme song was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
it
Oh,
still
Lord.
is.
Still.
oh Lord.
Adam probably
man.
saw us the crank for his car, hanging on the wall somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Hey.
Be the only
can't-
guy in the SCCA Super Tour or SCCA runoffs, whatever you want to go run, to have a crank powered car. Gotta love it.
I don't even know the classes in SCCA anymore. It's so different than it was a couple years ago. Even just a couple years ago, I used to follow it really closely, but haven't for the last couple.
Ooh.
Anyway,
Zach,
Oh,
since you are our
picks
special guest,
time.
yes, pick your winner for Rockingham.
Before we get into the picks, though, I just gotta say it's Mertis, not Mertez, not Martinez, not Mertz. Mertis. Take that E down there, okay? Take that E. Make it sound like an I.
Okay, Marte.
Right?
I know. Started. You were helping.
I'll
you were
add
trying
that
to help
one to the
Mason with
list.
His phonetics.
I'll add
You're
that
going-
to the list.
you're going out of your way to screw that up now, Richard. Come on.
Oh, Lord mercy.
And Andrew's last name I can understand because I somehow
Cardinale.
read his name as Cardinal
Yep.
since I've met him, even though there's obviously an E at the end, which does not spell Cardinal. But
Hey, okay, Adam, do you not remember our early broadcast races when you were Buzeo?
Yes.
Oh,
we had no
man.
idea how to pronounce your last name.
Richard, I have been Buzio, Adams, Robert.
Hey, we also have Galvin Rogers.
Yeah,
Has anyone ever just called you Boozy?
and I just want everybody to know, I have known Robert for like 3.5 years at this point, and he still calls me Adams when we talk. Like I have it.
Man.
I have it in Discord messages from as early as like a month ago, and I just don't correct him anymore. I just don't.
I think Carl is the only one who has just a regular name that's super easy to pronounce. Because Steven's been like, I think I've heard Stefan Burble once.
Carl
Yeah,
Polar. Carl
someone-
Polar.
Someone went out of their way to screw Steven's name up too.
Yeah,
That
it
was
happens.
Stefan Borbol, I think is what it was.
Yes. Yes.
I don't remember who it was, but
At
it
the end
was,
of the day, names are hard, man.
names are hard. They got
Names are hard.
they got vowels and consonants.
Yeah, and letters, sometimes numbers.
Hey, you need to talk to Mason because he's got a wicked list of drivers he has to pronounce for the racing tonight.
Oh, they're
Not
still in the middle
Sorry,
of that.
wrong
as
word.
far as
A
I'm aware.
crazy list of driver names he has to pronounce tonight.
This is why I stopped doing NARL with Andrew, other than the fact that I just need to work more sometimes. He's like, hey, Zach, he'll text me day of broadcast. He'll be like, hey, Zach, can you help me on a broadcast tonight? I'm like, what time? And he's like, such and such time. And I'm like, well, I got to work and I'll see what I can do, but no promises. And then when I hear it's NARL, I'm like, oh my God, I have to pronounce all those freaking names. Now, see, it was easy when there were recognizable names. Like Tony Kanaan used to race in that series. So there were easy names to recognize most of the time. And there are times where we have covered a lot of broadcasts. Like when we covered EPI, when they were sponsoring Top Split Night, for the C-Class Legends, there were NASCAR drivers that were running in that, like Parker Retzloff, like recognizable and easy names that you don't really have to worry about mispronouncing because you hear them all the time, so you know who they are and you know who they are and what they're doing there. Like a lot of the guys that ran in those races too, I've raced with in Legend Cars, so like I know their names and I know not to mispronounce them, even though it took Steve Post 2 years to pronounce my name right when we were running at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So whoop-de-doo. But in any case, I'm supposed to be making a pick here for who's supposed to win Rockingham. Well, I'm going to take a shot out of left field here. And, oh, man. Who can I pick that's a shot out of left field? You know what?
Don't you dare say my name.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That was very forward of
So
you.
aggressive.
That was
there.
aggressive.
So aggressive.
I agree with Carl. Very aggressive.
Like,
I
much,
was
sir.
kidding.
Too
You're
much.
not a shot out of left field, Richard. To be perfectly honest, you're a foot in the grave that you have to dig up.
You're
So
not
Hey.
wrong. You're not wrong.
that's
Bury
just
him.
my 2 cents. But
Richard's
if
like, I accept this.
I think I'm gonna go with Mr. Brendan Maddox because he did a very lovely paint scheme for me for my NASCAR Cup Series car, and it will be included in a press release coming in the next couple of days for some cool stuff that I've got going on that I'm currently in the works on taking care of, but that is to remain unknown to the general public because it's not been announced yet. So, but I'm gonna go with Mr. Brendan Maddox.
Ooh.
That is a little bit of a shocker for a short track, but hey, I respect it. And with that, we'll go to our non-special guest, Adam Buzzio.
Happy to be here. I am gonna go with solely based on the fact that in my experience, he is one of, if not the best tire savers that we have, and I'm gonna go with Dustin Stallings.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon per se, and I'm gonna go ahead and make myself go first here. And I'm gonna also go with you, Adam, of Dustin Stallings. Seems like every time we go to a short track, yes, Rockingham short track, Dustin does have a very good advantage of saving tires, and Rockingham, with how much it wears out your tires, that we know, it will benefit him in the long run. And Carl, Richard, I don't care which one of y'all goes.
Right, Carl.
Jared Hughes.
Hey,
I mentioned it kind of feels like a weird Richmond type drive. We know Jared Hughes has the Richmond Wind. I think that was what, season 1, season 2. So I think, and he has momentum. He's doing really, really well during the chase. I have faith in Jared. Oh man.
All right, let's see here. Who am I gonna pick? I'm gonna have to go with Isaiah Sutherland. I feel like this is a track that, again, he's really good on the concrete tracks, and those are huge tire saving style tracks. So I think Isaiah can pull it off at Rockingham.
No,
It is
it's
not a
not.
concrete
I
track.
didn't
but
say it's just because of concrete track. I just
the
said concrete
style.
tracks are huge tire saving tracks, and Rockingham will be the same sense.
So yeah,
I
get
guess
where you're
that's
going there.
comparable.
But I mean, hey, that's some short track drivers I think that we're picking mostly across the board, and there's a good chance one of them will get it done. And hopefully someone can close that gap to Mason, and we don't have a runaway with it going into Homestead. But
There's a great way you could shake up this entire race, okay? Make it the Rockingham Road Course, because it does have an infield road course.
I was
Does it
looking at that
really?
today.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
Rockingham has an infield road course. It's so if you go to Rockingham on iRacing, there are 4 configurations. There is the short road course, which has been run on a few occasions. There's the infield road course, which uses portions of turn 3 for 2 of its corners, actually, and it still stays on the infield. And then there is also obviously the oval, and then there is the road course, where you go through 1 and 2, and then you brake hard down the back straightaway. It's a sweeping left-hander into the backstretch, and then it's a wide sweeping hairpin corner. It's a right-hand kink, and then a hairpin back onto the racetrack. It's a
That would
very
make it interesting.
interesting layout for a road course. I won't deny it's very bland, but with Rockingham, it's a characteristic type road course. I would tell you to go run it. I ran it in an IndyCar one time, and I swear to God, it was super fun.
I'll tell you what. One of my suggestions for one of our fun races, off-season races, whatever you want to call them. I used to be in a Legends League for a long time, and I would love to go Legends racing at a road course. There are some really fun road courses in that. Really, anything's fun in that Legends car, man. They're so much fun to race. But
They just updated it too. It actually is what
I
it's
saw,
supposed to be now.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did,
Also,
I
we
saw that.
have wet tires on Legends before we have wet tires on Cup cars.
We have
Really?
wet tires on Legends.
Yes, we
I'm
do.
not even kidding you. They just started letting us use wet tires again. Like we have just when we were supposed to sign up for Road Course World Finals last year, because they let us run Legend cars on VIR. That's where Road Course World Finals were last year, and they're going to be at Dominion this year. When we were doing signups in previous years, like when I did it in 2021 for Road Course World Finals at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we were only allotted 4 tires and 1 spare tire to be able to use, 1 new spare tire. And when we were signing up for Road Course World Finals last year, we had to purchase dry tires and we had to purchase rain tires. That was the first time I had ever seen that happen since I've been doing Legend cars, and they started kind of doing away with rain tires after the Hoosier tire shortage. So that was a whole finagled mess. But the first time I ran rain tires was at the Earnhardt Outdoor Showdown back in May of last year, and it didn't even rain. So rain tires on a dry track, not a great combination, but it did make for some interesting racing.
Slight tangent, Zach, you actually know a friend of mine, David Hall, in real life, apparently.
Yes, I gave him an interview at Caraway Speedway.
I saw on Facebook. That's how actually my wife noticed it on Facebook, which is
Yeah, I honestly was looking at his Facebook post because he tagged me in it, and I saw her comment, and I'm like, hold on a second. And then I looked at
how
her
many
page, and I
Buzzios
was
can
like,
there be?
I'm like, what? I didn't
Yeah,
know you
no.
guys knew each other. So
We've hung out in real life, him, me, and Dustin, back from the way back. We all went to the Coke 600 and hung out, and yeah, he's a good guy.
it threw me for a whole loop. No, he drives Legend cars.
Disembodied voice asked if David and I, and David, me, and Dustin knew each other. It met up from the RSR days. And
Oh.
honestly, Robert, it must have been because this would have been 2021 because Larson won the 600 that year.
I
So
was at that 600.
that would have. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Robert says he was broadcasting that league. I have to keep everybody up to date with the conversation. So you're not
I
allowed to
never
talk.
said that.
But yeah, so yeah, I've known Dustin and David for a long time. They're both good guys. So
Funny how
Small
small
world,
this
isn't it?
world is sometimes.
the racing world is much smaller than you think, man.
Oh, Lord. And yet it needs all the money in the world.
All
And
those wet
I'm,
tires are expensive.
Going
man,
back to that, do the Legends cars even
race
have a
cars.
windshield wiper?
No, they do not. So
They do not.
you can run two options. You can do what the dirt guys do, and you can run a grate. It looks like a cage. It's just a grate instead of the windshield because that's what most dirt cars run. Or you can just run the windshield, which actually just got a new windshield for the Legend car. 5-Star Bodies made a new windshield for the Legend car. That's it's really interesting. The other thing too that they did, and it got included with the iRacing update, is like the Micron battery things, like the heads-up displays that you'd see on go-karts. Those are now used in Legend cars. They're optional, of course. They don't provide some sort of performance advantage, but they're able to be used now. They connect right into the new MT09 motors. It's new type stuff. I don't have enough money for that stuff though. I'm just a poor underfunded race car driver that can't even get in his race car right now because he owes way too much money.
Well, those are the
Hopefully
same
we'll get you there.
ones.
Ugh. Lord of mercy. Disembodied
Robert
voice
Back.
having disembodied opinion.
Oh,
Damn.
Damn.
Oh, boy.
man.
well, this is typically the
Hey, I
time of
I
the
am
podcast.
not gonna pass up any opportunity to try to do something to get back in a race car. I got tore up a lot last year, so I gotta pay off my parts bills before I'm actually allowed to be able to drive my car again. It's a whole thing that I gotta deal with.
It's a whole
You're
thing.
racing against
The
Nick
whole
Renner.
thing.
It does sound like that, doesn't
Ironically, it wasn't even my fault. I got driven over for last place, man. I mean, like I was down
Sounds
on
about right.
power.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh my god. No, man.
No,
Apparently
that's Blaze Crawford.
it?
oof.
Mm-hmm.
The fuel cells in Legend cars have foam in them, right? It's like a big foam cube,
Mhm.
and it just sits down right there in the fuel cell. Mine broke apart, and got sucked into my fuel line, and it made me lose a lot of horsepower. So I
Wow.
was getting dog walk on the straightaways, and I was like still turning solid laps, and I was just going into turn 3, and I just got drilled.
Mm.
It's heartbreaking stuff. But,
So
That
take
was-
away from that foam, not an accelerant.
We took the foam out, we cleaned out the fuel cell, and we also replaced the battery because that was also a problem. So I think that was like a $500 repair bill or something like that.
racing's not cheap. That's why we do it virtually.
You need
Yeah.
a qualified mechanic. Get you some of those discounts.
There's no discounts in a spec series. What are you talking about?
I see Rev is up in the
Spec
chat.
series.
Rev, you owe me a meatball sticker, sir. I'm gonna get that.
You owe Zach Mertes, whatever.
Mertes. Mertes. It's German. Okay,
Zach
it's
Blech.
German.
Hey, I'm just saying, we have Dakota Bleh. You're now Zach Mertes.
All I'm saying is that when I live in Pennsylvania, they never pronounce my name wrong. So
Well, why don't you go back?
you think I want to go back there? Man, all they got's dirt racing. I'm an asphalt boy.
Where are you from in PA?
Williamsport. I was born and raised there for the first 12 years of my life.
I live like an hour from Pittsburgh.
There you go.
So,
Then
but I'm in the good
you're-
state. I'm in Ohio, so I'm in the good
You're
state.
on the other side. Oh, I had to drive through your state when I was going to PRI in Indianapolis back in December. Yeah,
I'm
I don't want
sorry
to do it
about that.
again.
Yeah. A lot of stadies, a lot of corn. Pretty much all you get in Ohio.
Literally just bland. It was just bland.
That's a good description.
And it was flat.
Very flat.
You need more
I don't even know
racetracks,
where to
sir.
go from here.
You need more racetracks in that state.
I don't know, it's kind of been all over the place, hasn't it?
We've had a sporadic podcast tonight, but these things happen.
Yeah.
Sporadic
I made my
podcast.
picks for Rockingham, so I leave the floor to you, gentlemen. I
Good
am
job.
just the man stealing the spotlight right now.
Well,
Hey, I mean-
actually, this is kind of a good segue because I think we have actual NASCAR and racing news coming up. So, some actual racing stories is a good segue into this next segment.
I couldn't agree more.
I aim to please.
Take you
Carl
up on
said,
that
this is
offer.
typically where we go into real NASCAR. I'm trying to think what NASCAR was even at last week. Oh, of course.
Vegas.
How could I forget? Yeah.
Vegas?
Vegas.
I forgot because I missed the last 15 laps. Going to volleyball practice.
That's actually so. Well, I mean, Josh Berry won the race, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
I mean, I had him on my Hard Rock bet.
there you go. For interesting storyline that actually pertains to iRacing. So one of the great things that we cover on Pit Stop TV is the Sarah Super Series, the Sim Auto Racing Association. Fun fact headline: Josh Berry is the first driver from the Sarah Super Series, from the Sim Auto Racing Association. They have the Super Series, which is their super late models and whatnot. He is the first driver to come out of that league to win a NASCAR Cup Series race.
Oh wow.
That's really neat.
That's pretty
Barry
cool.
came from iRacing a lot. Most of us has come from iRacing. I mean, like I got buddies that race late models and ARCA and NASCAR. I mean, I've raced with Raja Karuth. He came from iRacing. I've raced with who else? Oh my goodness, it's slipping my mind. Blake Lothian. I know he does iRacing. There's a lot of people who come from the sim.
Ty Majeski.
William
There you
Byron.
go.
William Byron.
There you go. Why did those names slip my mind?
Man,
Ty
if I
Majeski-
was
Yeah, the two big ones, I'd say.
if I was only born 25 years earlier.
Right?
Damn it.
I mean, it's still awesome to have this opportunity for people to make that jump. Zach, you were talking about, I mean, how expensive it is just to run a Legends car. The other night, you and I were in a call and we were talking about how expensive it is to run an ARCA car or even a truck at this point. And iRacing fills that gap for a lot of people that don't typically have that opportunity. And I believe the Josh Berry story was really interesting. He ran into Dale Jr. in was it an official race?
he ran into him in some sort of race. They got to talking, and it eventually led to some great opportunities. Barry got to run the Cars Tour, and he won multiple times in the Cars Tour. He's won the Valley Star Credit Union 300 at Martinsville Speedway, which is one race that I'd like to compete in if I could get a late model ride. Maybe that'll turn around some point this season. Who knows? He's won the Cars Tour Championship. He did a lot in the late model, and Junior Motorsports has elevated their late model program in recent years as well, and that promoted him to a couple of part-time rides in the Xfinity Series, which he then got a win at Martinsville as well. He went full-time, and he had a chance to compete for the championship. He made the playoffs and whatnot. Now he's got his first career win with the Wood Brothers of all teams. The Wood Brothers. I have always said that as long as you put a good driver in that car, then that car will win races. And that's no shade to like Matt DiBenedetto or Harrison Burton or anybody like that. They did perform pretty well for those cars, and DiBenedetto has been known to perform well, especially in underfunded equipment. So to see Barry go out there and win a race on pace, not to mention he's had a lot of great runs in the last couple of weeks. He got a top 5 at Phoenix. This team's been on fire over this season, and we're only just getting started too. This is some really, really good stuff. But you don't need me going on my tangent here. I'm just
Well, I want to build on that tangent, Zach, because for the Wood Brothers, their last 5 wins have all been different drivers, and each of those drivers, it was their first official NASCAR win in each of the last
time
5
they
wins.
went back to back, as in winning one season and winning another season, was in 1987.
Wow.
They haven't won in back-to-back seasons since '87, and it wasn't with the same driver. Which like if Barry wins another race and they go back-to-back with the same driver, that wouldn't have happened since 1983.
That's a fun stat. That's interesting.
Yes, Jared, they are teamed up with Penske. They do get help from Penske.
It is an association. Like the Wood Brothers car is actually built in the Penske shop, and they get help from the Penske group. It's a Ford alliance.
I
Now,
wouldn't. Oh,
I'm thinking I don't remember if they're a tier 1 team or not. I don't think they are when it comes to manufacturer support. But I would assume that with the uptick in pace, they could apply for more manufacturer support.
So my
Yeah,
understanding with them, sorry, Adam,
it's okay. Go ahead.
is that the Wood brothers even stayed alive because of Ford, Motor Company. So I would assume that just due to their relationship, even if they're not officially a tier 1, Ford is doing whatever they can to help them and help Penske along the way. I mean, you see it almost every week. It seems like at least half a year they have Ford Motorcraft on the car, which is a subsidy of Ford. So they have a lot of Ford backing in the Wood brothers.
I would not sleep on Barry. You know what I mean? The last 2 races have been kind of our first 2 regular races, if you will. You know, we had couple super speedways, we had a road course. But our first 2, traditional ovals, what was he? I think he was 4th or 5th in Phoenix, and then obviously won last week. So I like him. I like to root for anybody with a good story. He has a good story. So
Yeah, I bet
and Pe-
RFK and where did Noah Gregson go?
He
Front
went to
row.
front row.
Us factory
row.
team,
So like, yeah,
because he's
front
number
row,
4.
front row, and I bet RFK are like looking at that win, going,
Ow.
"Well, we pulled the wrong straw."
Yeah.
Well, RFK and front row have no. It's RFK and Rick Ware that have a technical alliance. Front row just became, it was either last year or the year before, they became a tier 1 team with
Yeah,
Ford.
last year.
So they've got manufacturer support, and they've had an uptick in performance. They've done really good for themselves, and Spire's got a good package. They've got Hendrick Motorsports engines, and they're doing pretty good for themselves as well. There's a lot of nuances when it comes to racing that a lot of people don't even read into, because most of the time it's a casual fan that turns on the TV and just says, "All right, well, I'm here to watch racing. I don't care anything that happens other than what happens on Sunday." So it is what it is. They just turn the TV on and they enjoy seeing the racing. But there's so many different nuances to this sport that are just insane to read about, really, because you turn on the TV and you're like, why is this guy not here? Oh, he got suspended last week. Well, what's going on with this team? Well, they got a penalty in the middle of the week because they did something to their car they weren't supposed to. 3D manufactured parts that didn't even help them get a good finish, not Stuart Haas shade or anything like that. But it's I can't throw shade at Stuart Haas. I got a buddy whose dad worked for Stuart Haas. They had a good package, but I will say, when it comes to the fact of Barry, Gregson, Priest, and Briscoe being at Stuart Haas and just having those terrible runs, I mean, they were in the process of closing their doors, and it's great to see them, all of them, in different teams that are strong, alive, and having good runs. It's great to see them in good equipment now. And it's not to say Stuart Haas wasn't good equipment. It's just that they're closing their doors, gentlemen. They didn't have the support that they needed as the season went on.
Yeah, and you bring up Briscoe, and I also want to say Ty Gibbs are 2 hot topics right now of their lack of performance. More so Ty Gibbs, obviously, because I think Fox put up a stat.
Oh,
It was either last week or the week before.
that statistic graph they had like on deck as soon as he made a mistake. That was
Yeah.
brutal. It's like,
That's a kick in the nuts. That's a
Isn't it
swift kick in the nuts.
8 or 9
Six-
races in a row.
I think it's more
All
than
below 30th.
Yeah.
30th or worse, man, in
Yeah.
a Joe Gibbs car.
And Briscoe has had a very rough start to the season. Some not of his own doing, but
Daytona
also,
penalty.
yeah. But now that's gone. Thankfully, that probably saved his season if he can get it turned around. It's still early enough, but
Well, if I remember the points correctly, after the penalty got overturned, he is now he's in the top 20 in points, if I'm not mistaken. He's pretty close to the playoffs, but he's still a far kick away from punching his ticket in right now. To your point, Steven, too, I think it's crazy how someone like Ty Gibbs is having such a terrible run right now, especially in Joe Gibbs equipment, and it kind of grinds my gears seeing guys and girls alike, everyone on Facebook will call it, because Facebook's the greatest place if you want to find NASCAR news. But there's so many people right now throwing shade at guys like Michael McDowell or Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ricky Spenhouse is what they like to call him, or Recky Spenhouse, whatever and whatnot, or even Bubba Wallace. We don't have. It does not take any sort of mention to people to understand why everyone hates Bubba Wallace. Like, there's so many people out there that do not like Bubba Wallace, and they will bash on his performance wherever they get the chance. And I've had the privilege to share a racetrack with that man. I can speak volumes to the fact that he is a good race car driver, and he is currently sitting well within the playoff grid right now. He's had a good strong run to the season, especially with the equipment that he's got at 2311. Like, they've upticked their performance too. It's crazy how people are still ripping on these guys like McDowell, Bubba Wallace, Stenhouse, and they've all had strong runs right now, sitting above the playoff cut line. Whereas they'll defend guys like Ty Gibbs, who are still a great race car driver, but just having terrible runs at the start of the season. I mean, it's across the board, ladies and gentlemen. They're race car drivers. They suck from time to time. You got to give them some credit.
Well, and there's so many. Sorry, Steven. There's so many people out there that just watch a sport just for the driving, and you're only scratching the surface with racing. You have, especially on these big teams, you have the car chief, you have the pit crew, you have so many other moving parts. I have been super critical of James Small most essentially since he took over the 19 team. The moment he took over the 19 team, and right now he's gone through 2 drivers, he still can't find success. I'm sorry, there needs to be other changes. Pit stop problems, especially for JGR across the board. Look at the 20 last week for Christopher Bell. They didn't get that left front tightened, so they had to stop in the 19 pit stall to tighten that tire. And so it's so much more than a driver having a bad day or a bad season. There's so many other parts that go into it that a lot of people just really, really overlook. And I feel like, yes, I mean, of course I couldn't hold a freaking candle to any of these guys. I mean, it doesn't even matter. But it's you also have to put in other talent in your crew chief, in your pit team. That's why these guys go to the combine. I hear the combine that the NFL combine, there was a lot of NASCAR teams there looking for talent. And so it's turned into such this team sport that kind of is overlooked by the action we see on track. And that's why I really like when Fox goes and cuts to their pit crew of the week or whatever, and they go and say, hey, I do this, and I've been here for 20 some years. And so many of those other people have been split among different teams, and there's so many moving parts, and that just needs to be more pronounced, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what my train of thought was. Going back to Zach, you mentioned race car drivers have these time periods where they don't perform well. Is it a similar sentiment to, like, in baseball is what I think of the best hitters will go through a dry month sometimes. This has gone a little bit further than a month, but we're not too far off of last year where Ty Gibbs had a great start to the season when we were saying, oh, this is his breakout year. This is where he's going to get the job done. He might get that first win, make the playoffs, etc. Is it a short-term thing, or is it a cause for concern?
As someone who's gone through a dry spell in a race car, it can be a long-term thing. It can be a short-term thing. It's a confidence thing. That's what it boils down to. Because when you see yourself performing badly and you want so hard to get out of that, bad run mentality, it creates a desperation mindset in a way where, I know I'm walking into this and I've had a bad season so far, and I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to turn it around. And either you're going to turn it around in the moment, or you're going to get in your own head and you're going to say all these different things that are going to psych yourself out, and you're going to end up costing yourself more harm than you do good. It's such a tricky thing, because if you don't walk in there with 100% mental capacity of I am going to win today, you're not going to be able to. And that's what I do when I go to Charlotte for, say, a summer shootout. I walk in there and there's so many teams there that have so much money to burn, like literally burn over a fire, I have to walk in there with the mentality of, even though I have probably some of the worst equipment in the field, I have some of the least amount of driving time because I don't have as much money to be in the seat. I have to walk in with the mentality every single time that I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to win this race. I am the highest in the room. I am the man, even if it's not the case. I have to act like that, or I'm not going to walk in there with that mentality of I'm not going to go home early today. I'm not going to wreck this car. You just have to be capable in that regard of, you're going to have that mentality that you're going to turn your season around. Because if you walk out there and you don't have it, you're going to probably either wreck sooner or you're going to wreck harder, and you're just going to be even more disappointed than when you got in the car. You got to be confident with yourself. It's such a hard thing to do when you're having a bad run, but you have to keep that positive mindset.
Thank you for that wonderful insight. Honestly, it makes it a little bit easier to understand his thought process, and I guess a real life thought process of driving. It's definitely not easy every week to do what he's doing, and hopefully he can turn it around.
Hey, Adam drove too. I'm sure he knows that same kind of mindset.
It's funny because you can relate it to sim racing in some regard too. I mean,
There you go.
that's something everybody watching this can relate to. You get a couple bad weeks in a row, it's easy to get in your own head and start second judging stuff. And obviously, in real life, when it's, as Zach has alluded to, a chump car especially is not as expensive to run as Legends, but it's still real money. It's real time. There's real risk involved with it. You know what I mean? And you have a couple crashes or a couple bad races, and it's very easy to get back in there, especially when you don't do it all the time. Like these guys do get in the car, multiple times, week after week after week. But I almost think in a way that can make it worse. You know what I mean? If you have gaps, you can have a little bit of time to kind of decompress and reset yourself. You have whatever 11 30th or worse races, man. And then now people are talking about it. Your last name is Gibbs. You're in Joe Gibbs equipment, so it's a lot to not only live up to from a personal standpoint, but it's a lot to show up to and race every week. I'm not a fan of Ty Gibbs, but I would like to see him do well. I don't think it helps the sport for him to not do well. But it's just one of those things, man. You know what I mean? You got to be able to reset and refocus. And like Carl mentioned, it helps to have good people around you. I think, with Ty, I think, the loss of his dad after the Xfinity season that he took I'm sure that still is a hole. You know what I mean? When you're used to having that same guy there every week and in your ear. Not that that's a reason, but it could be. So we'll see. We'll see how he shapes up the rest of the season. He's not the only one with questions as far as what's going on. So I'm interested to
Not
see
at
how
all.
some of this pans out.
Not to mention too, building off of that, the other big thing too is just like social media. You go on to social media,
Oh
you see
man,
everyone
yeah.
dragging your name through the mud. That's not a confidence booster in the slightest.
No, and Ty Gibbs is an easy guy on paper to drag through the mud. You know what I
We
mean?
all
pro, yeah.
remember the meme from, what was it, a year or two ago, that he said in his post-race interview that even Jesus is hated at one point, and then it started the dude walking around in the pits, looking for Ty Gibbs dressed up as Jesus. So that was an interesting time. But I think, Adam, yeah, you hit it kind of nail on the head right there, head on the nail, whatever the expression is. The final coffin in the nail. I still remember that broadcasting blunder. It's really easy to get in that bad mindset. But don't worry, Richard. Your season will turn around.
Please.
You got 2 races left, bud.
I had to make the joke.
His mic is not working. This is funny.
I was muted. Don't know how or why, but okay.
I think other than Barry winning, one of the things I saw pop up newsworthy was that NASCAR actually sat down and addressed Ty Gibbs pulling into the 19 pit.
They addressed that. They just
I'm
clarified the ruling on it.
Yeah, Christopher Bell. Because I guess, if you're a newer fan, you might not have ever seen that before. That's been going on for a long time in NASCAR, but it's not as common now. It was cool to see it. I thought it was cool to see a car pull in a
Mhm.
pit box that wasn't his and, go to work on it. But a lot of teams had wheel issues though. The first, whatever, 20, 25 laps, I think we saw 3 or 4 cars
Mhm.
either have a loose wheel or a loose wheel ended up, causing a tire failure or whatever. So that wasn't an isolated incident either. It just goes back to the team aspect of it though. What
Yeah,
else?
I
What
was
else
gonna
happened?
say,
What else happened in NASCAR? Anything?
NASCAR did make a rule change this week, or a rule tweaking. Of NASCAR says you can't pit in another team's stall for adjustments, or else you risk a bigger penalty than tail end or pass through. Um, so essentially, NASCAR has now added to the rule book that getting service in a pit stall that is no longer yours can lead to multiple laps of penalties in addition to other penalties.
Cool.
They
if
So
it's
did.
and
race adjustment
Yes, adjustments.
service.
Correct.
If it's a safety service, then it's different. You just get end of line.
Correct.
They pretty much didn't explicitly. It's a lot of the big things that people are having problems with when it comes to NASCAR's rule book. They didn't
I was
explicitly
I,
say that you can't do it. They're just saying here's what happens if you do it. Like
here's what can happen.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. It's the
I was
same way of saying intentional wrecking, right? Like this we're not saying you can't do it. We're just saying that if you do it, this is how much you have to pay in a fine if you do it. And now they're getting back in the consistency of suspending people, which is what needed to be done. It's a lot of drivers saying like we don't want to see right hooks and whatnot. And I'm sure Adam is going to touch on that in a way too. Like they're pretty much for basis. They're saying we're not saying you can't do it. We're just saying this is what's going to happen if you do it, and this is how much you're going to have to pay us. There's a price point, a pinpoint dollar sign that you can put down on it of like, all right, so you're just thinking on the box. Like we got to stop in someone else's box. How much is it going to cost us? It's in the budget. We can do it. It's fine. We
I
don't
was
care.
I was just gonna say another new n- unclear, ambiguous rule. Like that's these guys, man. I'm pretty sure the admins of BRB could be clearer than NASCAR race control and the officiating has been. I mean, this is the same thing. Excuse my alarm. I don't know why
You
it's
to go
on.
to bed.
I'm old.
Yeah,
So
we have established that already.
I know, but I think that's where a lot of I know at least personally. I've been watching NASCAR for over 20 years, and it's just so um it's so frustrating because it's just not that NASCAR should base their rules or anything like that on social media or anything like that, but 95% of the frustration you hear about with modern NASCAR are unclear rules, unclear race officiating. Why are we hitting the yellow? Why aren't we hitting the yellow? Well, we did this last week. Like they just have to get better at that stuff. And we've talked about this as admins in the league. Like more rules is not always the answer. It's if you're gonna have a rule, it needs to be clear and followed. Every time as best as you can. So
Well,
we'll
and I
see.
think after was it Daytona or Atlanta, the Fox had a pre-race and they talked about that, and I think we talked about it also earlier that week in the podcast how there isn't, and they verified it. There's not a set crew that goes from track to track that makes these calls. It's always a change per track, so they don't have a set staff to make these calls week to week basis.
Kind of the same
So that
thing. Not to kind of cut you off there, Carl, but it's also the same thing when it comes to appeals and whatnot. A lot of people say, "Well, why did NASCAR overturn this guy's penalty?" NASCAR doesn't do that. It's the motorsports appeal panel that you go to appeal penalties and whatnot. It's like you said, it's a different crew from time to time. NASCAR has one specific race director. We'll say that NASCAR has one specific race director, but a lot of the officials and stuff and crew that are there to operate the track or help with officiation on pit road and whatnot, most of the time those are different people. They don't always go from track to track. They usually just take local stuff and they'll do what they can. Like I know some of the Charlotte crew out here in North Carolina that do stuff there too. It's not always the same crew, to your point, Carl.
That's all. I mean, Zach helped me with that, so I'm not even gonna
I kind of
be
cut you
mad
off
about
there,
that
though.
one.
I'm sorry
Oh
about
no,
that.
it was fine. You actually just fed right into it. It was perfect. Good flow.
That's what we do around here, man. It's what we do.
In
I
other
do
news,
think, though,
oh, go ahead.
building on that a little bit, though, I think a lot of fans need to remember when watching NASCAR on Sunday is not to kind of sound stupid here, but you are the fans. You are here to watch, to have fun, to enjoy what you like to see, to be involved in your community when it comes to racing. It's a great atmosphere to be a part of, but we are not officials. I mean, Adam's been behind the wheel. I am still behind the wheel in some regard. We all sim race and whatnot. There is an aspect to racing that we do not know about. We never know what the officials are talking about behind the camera. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. There's always something that we don't know about, and I think we as fans, as drivers, need to remember not to jump straight to conclusions because maybe there's something they're considering that we don't know about. Maybe there's something that the drivers have brought up that they are going to take into consideration. Obviously, you got to remember there's a fan council and a driver council in NASCAR. They do a lot of stuff behind closed doors as well. There are so many different things that we don't know about that can take place. And guys like Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they cover it on their podcasts and whatnot. They go a little in depth about their NASCAR knowledge and whatnot. But I always make this dissertation whenever I hear someone complaining, well, they didn't throw the caution. Well, they should have thrown the caution. There's always something going on we don't know about. We can't jump straight into conclusions when it comes to these things.
Well, Steven, you know what we skipped, by the way?
I
Trivia?
don't have it.
You don't
I
have
don't have
what?
it.
Trivia.
That's not what I was
No.
going to say.
Oh, you're talking about my
Oh.
favorite
The
driver?
Sundance Pizza,
Oh.
sit down.
Pizza? Someone
goodness.
say pizza? I'm hungry. I want pizza.
I want pizza too, but the Sundance Pizza sit down is way more important than just regular pizza.
Okay.
But like there is pizza, right?
It'll show pizza, but you can't eat it.
Oh,
Zach's dead. That was the nail in the coffin for him tonight. No
Yeah.
pizza.
Well, Zach, if you're down for it, we have is it 7 questions that we'd like to run through you or run by you?
Oh, 7 questions.
Zach, we're gonna impale you with questions, sir.
Well, my
Steven
this
and his
shirt
word
technically has
choices are
holes
not
in it
the
already,
best
so.
sometimes.
Sorry, I'm not known
All
for
right,
my
come
speech
on, hit
ability,
me.
It's my numbers ability.
Right here.
All right.
I don't have any questions up. You caught me off guard there. Sorry, I was.
I saw it in
questions
chat
are always
earlier,
the
but like
same.
the conversation was going and going and going. So
Let me pull it up. Y'all talk about Denny Hamlin and Progressive real quick.
Progressive has
Progressive
signed
Insurance
as an
is on a
anchor
car.
sponsor with Denny Hamlin.
Woo.
I mean, it's another sponsor.
Yay.
We need sponsors, but I mean,
Yes, yes. Sponsors are very much needed.
not NASCAR related, but y'all should turn into the Speed Tour TV YouTube this weekend and watch my dad race his TA2 in category in Group 10 at Road Atlanta.
TA2
Shout out
is
to my buddy Thomas Annunziata.
Who is racing the new Toyota TA2 car, by the way, which looks pretty doggone sharp. So,
Toyota, if
Now,
you're listening to us, please, for the love of God, give us Trans Am and iRacing.
Steve
Please.
Myers, if you're watching, please get us Trans Am in iRacing. Trans Am 2, TA2. The Trans Am series, the TA1 series is a little. There's a lot of weird rules with that one. TA2 is a lot more spec related. So,
Yeah, but if you're going to give us TA2, you got to give us TA1. Kind of like how if you're going to give us Super Formula, you give us Super Formula Light. Just
I mean,
saying.
I agree, but TA2 is way more popular than TA.
Fair enough.
I mean, TA, they have to run multi-class in order for them to have a race because I think there's only like 7 or 8 TA cars that run. Yeah, TA's not as they're faster, they're a lot louder and awesome to watch, but they're not as close racing as the TA2.
So
it's
what
a
if they
lot
just
more
made? What if they made TA2 TA1 and TA1 TA2?
Because that's not what they do. Because
TA1's
TA1
a
is the
lot-
faster, higher powered car, so they
And it's-
call TA2 the one that.
TA1's a lot more expensive. There's a lot of different things you can do to the cars. Like Richard said, TA2
TA1 has sequential shifters, whereas TA2's got your H pattern.
TA2 is more of a show up with this car and race it, as opposed to big budget, crazy machines.
Yeah, I don't know much about the TA series just because my dad has a TA2 car and he was the crew chief for a TA2 driver, Bruce Raymond, for Raymond Performance. And I know quite a bit about the TA2 cars, and like their motors are sealed. They cannot do anything to their motors. They can do general maintenance, but like they can't open that motor up at all.
I know exactly what you mean.
So they have specific, I think there's only 3 companies that build TA2 motors in the country. So if you have an issue with your motor, you have to send it to one of those 3 companies to get it fixed.
That is what you get when you run spec performance motors. It's the same thing and people don't, a lot of people don't understand this too. You will find this in multitude of racing series, not just at the top level, but at the bottom level too. Like you'll find that in karting. It's sealed motors in legend cars too. If I open up my motor in any way, shape, or form, I get a $1,000 fine, and I get my hard card revoked for a year, and a suspension.
So, one thing, like Connor Zilich, I actually watched Connor Zilich in the TA2 series. He raced for Silver Hair Racing, and that team would cheat all the time for him, and he didn't need it, because they would always catch him cheating, and then he'd qualify pole, catch him cheating, and then they'd send him to the back of the line and get start at the tail end of the line. But then he'd still run through the 30 cars in TA2 to win the race in an hour-long race. So it's like, why are you cheating for this kid when clearly he could just Gavin Rogers the field? So
he ain't trying. That's racing for you.
I mean, true, but I watched Connor Zilich dominate in TA2 for about a year and a half before we saw him make his way up to like the Rolex and then now NASCAR. But yeah, he did the same thing. They cheated for him at Nashville for the Music City Grand Prix when Trans Am showed up there, and he started the back. Again, ran through the field, won the race for the inaugural Music City Grand Prix. They tore his car completely apart, like engine and everything, to make sure that it was legal for the race. So, which they're allowed to do. It's in the rules. They don't do it all the time, but if you were consistent, and it's again not his fault. He just shows up to race. It's the team's fault. But yeah, like they're very, very particular when it comes to the TA2 series. The only problem is like my dad and Bruce would love to race in the TA2 series, but the operational manager, I guess, or the overall operational guy for TA2 used to work for NASCAR and is trying to get TA2 to a NASCAR level series, and they've kind of upped their price with that. So now it's like $6,000 to race for the weekend. And again, you're not winning that money back. Like you're winning a severe fraction of it. And you're talking, if you're a top team, you're spending anywhere between $4,000 to $6,000 in tires a weekend. So because they're throwing sticker tires on every time that car touches the track. Whereas
$6,000.
I mean, Bruce Raymond, he would only run one sticker set of tires each weekend, and that would be for the race. And a set of tires is around $2,000.
Dude, that's about 3 months worth of racing for me. Maybe 4.
Yeah, not in the TA2 series, man. I mean, you got to talk. Those cars are a cheap car is $65,000. I think my dad got his. It was a 2015 Howe chassis, and it was $75,000. So
I'm done.
And he only races SVRA. He doesn't even race the Trans Am series. He got it to race SVRA category or Group 10.
Oh my god.
So the Trans Am series is expensive, but it's also the fastest growing and most popular stock car road racing series in the United States right now.
Oh
and
boy.
What did that was NASCAR.
Yeah, I'm sitting here having an aneurysm about that right now. That's
NASCAR invited Trans Am to come out when NASCAR went to, I want to say, Road America for the first time. And I think it was a shit show for NASCAR. Like they did not put on a good show. It was not a good show to watch. But the Trans Am cars came out on the track. TA2 showed stock cars racing extremely close and not wrecking or causing issues and just having a very good race. Then the fans saw Trans Am TA1 get on track, and then they saw extremely fast stock cars not having issues on the track. So it really skyrocketed the fandom for the Trans Am series. And that's kind of what has helped that massive slope in the cost for Trans Am to go up. But obviously, there's interest in it because Toyota just brought their TA2 car to Road Atlanta this weekend. So Trans Am is really starting to skyrocket when it comes to popularity and drivers and teams wanting to get into it.
I'm here for it.
But yeah, tune in this week for Speed Tour. I'll post the links and whatnot when he's about to race or whatnot. But he's got 2 awesome stories from 2 tracks that he hates hearing now. So,
Well, thank you for that segue, gentlemen. It took me a little bit longer than I anticipated to find this document. I don't know why.
Document? What am I getting impaled with here, man?
It's just my actual.
it is a
script
700-page document.
But so just got a couple questions for you, Zach. We're gonna start off real nice and easy. Just to give us a little background on you. Where are you from? What's your day job? Stuff like that. Some base level information.
My name's Zach Murtis, and I deliver pizzas. No, I'm kidding. Well, I was born and raised in Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the first 12 years of my life. Moved down here to the Raleigh, Wake Forest area when I was 11. My family wanted to change of pace, so now in the North Carolina scene. And for my day job, really all I do is just drive around doing Uber. I mean, it's a flexible schedule. It helps out a little bit with being able to be at the racetrack. And speaking of which, one new job that I actually started this year is doing pit reporting for Caraway Speedway over in Sophia, North Carolina. So I am their full-time pit reporter for the season, and I've been doing a lot of their social media stuff, like I'm helping in getting videos. If you were watching on carawayspeedway.tv, you might have seen me riding around in the pace car, taking tidbits from the Cars Tour with having my freaking head out the window and collecting video footage as we're ripping around at, I think pace speed was like 45 miles an hour. And you know, when they make that hard cut on a pit road and you're just kind of in the car with your whole body leaned against the door, you're either A, thinking you're going to fall out the side of the car, or you're just going to fall out the freaking window when they make the hard left turn on a pit road. So yeah, we're having fun with that. And I have a small subsidiary of taking the knowledge that I've got on social media and helping drivers build up their social media in a way that is being able to get them monetized and help them achieve a good amount of following that will help entice sponsors to come over to them. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do for myself. And if I'm able to help other drivers do it for themselves as well, then by God, I'm all here for it.
Good deal. And going on to NASCAR, who is your favorite NASCAR driver? It can be past, present. You can give me both. I don't care.
I am a longtime Jeff Gordon fan. He is
My
one of the main
man.
reasons that I want to get in a race car. I grew up watching him tear it up for Hendrick Motorsports, and I really also like that he was a Speed Racer fan, and I grew up watching Speed Racer. So, you know, like where can you go wrong there, man? I mean, he's one of the, not to mention a lot of people discount it because you know they look at the championship statistics, but you know he was an overall better driver in my opinion than Jimmy Johnson. He had a lot more lead lap finishes, a lot more top fives, a lot more top tens. Just you know Jimmy had a little more where it counted is all, but they're 2 very good race car drivers in their own regard. It's just the big thing that you got to bring into the equation when you talk about Jeff Gordon is that he modernized NASCAR. He started the youth movement. He brought in all of this big publicity for NASCAR. He was on magazine covers. He was on Saturday Night Live. He was all over the place. You could not walk around and hear NASCAR without hearing the name Jeff Gordon. I mean, obviously, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, household names. But, you know, come the 90s when NASCAR really started booming, it was all Jeff Gordon.
And current, do you have a current favorite driver as well, or multiples? Yourself.
I can't really, like, it's so hard to
good
have
answer.
a favorite driver now when you're also a driver because then that just shows us so much bias, man. Like, you gotta self-representation is such a big thing nowadays. You gotta be charismatic. You gotta have fun with it. So I mean, like, I became a Chase Elliott fan after Gordon stepped out of the car, and I'll still root for Chase Elliott or for the Hendrick guys as well because I am a big Hendrick supporter. But when it comes to a favorite driver, I can't really pick one nowadays when I am also in the car as well, and I'm trying to build myself up.
I mean, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that, but I mean, that's very fair. Um, when it comes to iRacing, however, how and when did you get into it?
I first heard about iRacing in like the early 2010s. I would used to watch some YouTube videos in like 2012, 2013 when iRacing was still new. And then I think I got my first computer that I could run iRacing on in about 2018, 2019. So like if you actually go onto iRacing, you'll find two accounts of mine. You will find Zachary Murtis and you will find Zachary A. Murtis, which is my current iRacing profile because they wanted to do Zachary Murtis 2. And I'm like, hey, I don't really like having a 2 at the end of my name. Can I change that? And, iRacing actually, for those of you who do not know, iRacing will never delete an account. They legally apparently are not allowed to delete accounts because I called customer support and I said, can I delete this account because I don't access it anymore? I can give you all the information on it so you can go in and delete it. And they're like, we can't delete your account, but we can change your name on your new account. So I said, okay, let's just do that. So they changed my name on my new account. So it's Zachary A. Murtis. That's my official iRacing account. And I officially started doing iRacing competitively in 2019, and I built up my iRating. Then when COVID hit, you can see it on my chart. My iRating just skyrocketed. So, that's why my iRating now is like almost 6K, and that's why Adam won't let me in the league to run even a one-off race. So it's like I tried to run the road course too. Like my road course rating is like 2,200 right now, and he's like, "Nope, we go off of oval iRating." I'm like, "Well, shit." So
Doesn't matter
couldn't-
how much we like you, buddy. If we do it for one, we got to do it for other, and then we.
I know, and I don't have the last name to back that up either. So it is what it is.
Someday you will. Someday we'll be like, man, I remember that Zach Murda's guy. We turned him down.
No.
We said no.
That's what everybody says. But I
We are claim
started
to fame.
doing some of the eNASCAR stuff a couple of years ago, and I've been involved in a lot more league racing and broadcast style racing. I've chosen to specifically stick to races that are broadcast that have high publicity or pay to win races, as in like you put in an entry fee and then you can pay to get that that money plus more, and turn that around, because any money helps when you're paying for the race car.
Yeah.
But
Heck yeah, man.
I've chosen to specifically stick to a lot of the NASCAR side when it comes to iRacing, and you'll primarily see me doing legend cars or late models on the sim to build my iRating up. And I also just really favor the late models, so it's the fun racing in my opinion. Who needs to go race A class?
Well, from what it seems like, we need to do what NASCAR did and create a special provisional for excellent drivers, or what's the official title of that?
Oh, I completely forgot. It slips the name. It's
The Elio Castroneves rule.
they just changed that rule actually.
They did.
Tweak it a
Yeah,
little
Did they
it's-
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
they-
to let NASCAR know in 90 days in advance if you want to use it.
Ooh.
Well, the Catherine Legg thing really put a bad taste in everyone's mouth, I think. You know what I mean? I don't want to go off on a tangent during the sit down, but yeah.
But moving on to our next question, building off of iRacing specifically, what is your least favorite and most favorite tracks within iRacing to drive?
That's a tough one. Oh, wow. Least favorite track. Oh boy. I have a number of tracks that specifically grind my gears when I race at them. Oh boy. Least favorite track. I gotta think on this one a little bit. My favorite track I can tell you on the service is Charlotte Motor Speedway. That is one of my favorite tracks. It's technically my hometown track, or home state track, if you will, because I'm 2.5 hours away from it technically.
Close enough.
definitely one of my favorite tracks on the sim. It's got a lot of great characteristics that provide some great racing. It's aged surface. It's part of the NASCAR cookie cutter stuff, but it's definitely one of my favorite tracks on the sim. I've gotten to race at it in real life. I've gotten a lot of experience from it. So I love to see that it is well represented in the sim. Least favorite track though. Oh, least favorite track. I don't know, man. I think in terms of just the overall characteristics of the racetrack and just how much of a reputation it already has. It's not even in the sim yet. I'm probably going to go with the Miami GP circuit. It's been scanned. It's coming to the sim, but I'm not a fan of it. I don't feel like it has a lot of great characteristics. I don't feel like it drives very well. I think in terms of producing entertainment, it has great value. In terms of overall raceability, I'm just not a fan of it. I think it needs a little bit more of a technical section rather than just a long freaking straightaway. I
was
I
not
don't know, man.
expecting that answer.
It doesn't look favorable to me.
Well, I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe in the sim it'll drive different. And I mean, if you find the right car combination for it, it could work out to
It
be a good
could.
time.
It very
But
much could. I think
who knows?
V8 supercars on that track would be really, really cool.
Yeah, and maybe a future BRB race. Who knows? Who
Can't wait to
knows?
see Gavin Smokey guys on another road course.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's no doubt.
that's par for the course here. On to our last two questions. And two is very fitting because your number is 02, correct? Or 02, I
It
don't
is.
know. You want
Used
me
to
to
be
say it correctly?
102, but I had to shorten it.
Okay, so I guess this question can go to either the 102 or the 02. How did you come up with that number to be your number?
So, I was playing at NASCAR 07 with a friend of mine that I actually haven't talked to in a while. I should really reach out to him on Facebook. We were playing NASCAR 07, and I'm just like, pick me a random number, like something like whatever you can that's close to like 200 or something. I don't care. Like, just give me a random number. And he picked 102 because when you're making a custom car on the old NASCAR games, that's me showing my age, Adam. There you go. Uh, when you pick a custom number on some of the older NASCAR games, you could only pick a triple digit number. They wouldn't let you pick a double digit number. So I just ended up getting 102, and it ended up being it just stuck with me. It's got a lot of characteristics that apply to me in life. It started becoming my lucky number. I would see it all over the place. I'll drive to the racetrack and I see it as the end three numbers on a serial number on a truck or something like that. I'll see it on a light poster or something along those lines. I mean, I have a Uber reservation that I have to go do tonight that is going to help pay my internet bill because we race car drivers still got to pay bills and whatnot. And I'm sure I'll probably see it somewhere at some point along those lines when I'm driving from the airport to Lewisburg. But it just kind of stuck with me as my lucky number, and it came to me that it was something that I need to hold on to. And I didn't realize until later, but it also is another reason to stick with it. If you flip 102 around, it becomes 201, and February 1st, that's my dad's birthday. So it's a nice little thing to have right there, and I'm sure my mom will love that because I love giving support to my parents when I'm at the racetrack, but I know my mom is usually at the racetrack more, so she likes when I talk her up a little bit more than I do my dad. But I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. It's always fun flip-flopping back and forth between that, but when it came time to get inside of a real race car, when I stepped up from karting into legend cars, I was told by the team that I raced for, which was Stillwell Racing at the time, I was like, hey, I want to go race at other tracks too. And he's like, well, if you go to some of the NASCAR tracks, they actually don't allow triple digit numbers. So he's like, you might have to shorten it. I'm like, okay, well, let's just go to 02. And I actually just also used the Hendrick font too, like it's in the iRacing sim, it's the Aardvark font, but it's known by a different name in the racing community. It's got a different style font. It's got a number font for it as well. But most people refer to it as the Hendrick font because that's what the font Hendrick Motorsport uses for their numbers. And I went ahead and started using that for my for my number graphic, and I used the Airstrike font for my nameplate, and I was just like, you know what? We're gonna take the solid black car and we're gonna go racing with yellow numbers and a white nameplate. It's a very bland scheme, but you know what? It stands out on the racetrack because in Legend cars, it's always a freaking white car or it's a blue car or something along those lines. It's
Yep.
always something.
Well, I mean, hey, that's a neat story. I love finding out of why people have certain numbers. And honestly, the more I've done this, the more I've realized most people don't have a reason. And to hear that you actually have a reason is quite refreshing. But on to the last question we got here. It's my favorite question. But you're on a long road trip. You stop at a gas station. What is the one drink and one snack that you are getting? Tells me a lot about you.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Here's the thing about this one.
If I have to stop at a gas station, it's for the drink. It's usually always going to be water. If it's not water, it's like an orange juice or a protein shake because long road trip, got to keep the energy up and whatnot. 85% of the time it's water though, because as a race car driver, you need to stay hydrated. And for the snack, oh my goodness, probably going to be a bag of goldfish. I do like my
Normal
bags of
goldfish.
goldfish.
Goldfish
They
are
are
great. I respect
are
your answer.
a good snack. You know, they're not a lot of calories, they're not a lot of carbs, and you know, they usually either come in like the little boxes, like the milk boxes you have in the cafeteria, or they'll come in the little bags too. So you can take one or the other, and I'm usually gonna go for the goldfish. If it's not the goldfish, it's probably Cheez-Its. So like to give myself
You're a
options, you
cheese
know.
guy.
N-
So
Man,
Regular Cheez-Its, or do you like the
Yeah.
white cheddar?
Regular,
regular.
and
Man after my own heart.
biased take, they're really good with peanut butter. They are very,
That's
very
not a
good with
biased
peanut
take.
butter.
Everything is good with peanut butter.
I've never thought of that. My mind's blown.
I would very much recommend you try them with peanut butter.
They make
They are
these
one of my go-to snacks.
they make these like skinny, crispy Cheez-Its now, and they're delicious.
I am
when
a
it comes
big
to
fan
goldfish,
of
you
the
go flavor
regular
blasted.
Cheez-Its. However, usually when it comes to leaving the racetrack, it's either a stop at McDonald's or a stop at Cookout because
Hmm.
I need something in my stomach on my drive home. You burn so many calories in the race car, and it's tough. But you know, I'm not usually stopping though, gentlemen. It's usually just kind of like a drive straight through because most of the time I don't have money to stop at a gas station. It's hard to pay for racing. It's very, very hard to pay for racing, and segueing too. It's been especially hard when it comes to someone like me because my career has always been shaped by, you know, needing to help support my family while at the same time trying to pay for my racing. You know, a little backstory into my racing. I've been homeless 4 times because my family has had struggles when it comes to money, and we have been in situations where it's been less than ideal, whether it be circumstances outside of our control. Because the most recent uh, time that I was homeless was back in 2019, and one actually occurred a couple years ago, but that's a totally different story because like our house caught on fire. It's like we've been through so many situations that have really molded and shaped, and I've had to grow up fast. It's been a really difficult situation where I've been forced into instances that I don't want to do something, but I have to do it for the sake of family or for the sake of my own well-being. And it's been a tricky situation to actually be able to try and handle things like that. And I think the biggest thing that has shaped my perspective is that I've taken a bit of a humble nature when it comes to approaching my racing career because I've been in situations that have been less than ideal, times that you know you just want to break down and cry, and you know I've pushed through those kinds of things, and I'm in situations like that right now. Like I've stated before, I have to find some sort of money right now in like the next month or two to get back in my race car. I think I need to spend like $5,000 on parts to be able to get back into my race car because that's what I owe. And my team owner has my car right now under lock and key at his shop, which, you know, state that for the record, it's not anything egregious. It's not bad or anything. It's like I have to pay him that money so I can get my car back and not have it in a situation where it's like I owe him money. That's just the best way to say it. I owe him money. But kind of getting back on the point here, there have been times in my life where I have been shaped by my circumstances, and I take what I've learned and I try to apply it to what I do. Like when I go to the racetrack, I know that I spend a lot of money to do this stuff, and there are people that spend a lot of money to be at the racetrack, and they want to be on the other side of the fence, and they can't necessarily afford that. Just like I can't afford certain things, or I have to spend money that I want to spend on racing to help out my family. So when I'm at the racetrack, I'm going to go up into the stands. I'm going to be with the fans, or I'm going to find a fan, and if I have the money, I'll pay for them to get a pit pass, and I'll bring them into the pits, and I'll give them that experience that they want to be there for, but they can't afford to have. It creates an aspect in racing that not a lot of drivers, I feel like, take into account nowadays, that you need to have that humble nature. You are here because you want to be here, because you have the ability to be here, and because there are people that want to see you here. Take that humble nature, take that humbleness in the fact that you have the privilege to be in these powerful machines, and do not let that go to waste. And there are things that I want to do with my career this year that I have to find the money for. So if that's the case, and I got to go out and work until 4 a.m. most nights, then I'm going to do that. If you have the dream, you have the passion, then I implore all of you out there watching right now to go chase it. Do not let anyone stop you. There are circumstances out of your control that will try to keep you down, out, and away from what you want to do. Please, for the love of God, find ways to push through it and go out there and chase your dreams.
Man,
It's
that
very
was
motivational.
yeah, that was very motivational, inspirational, all of the above.
That was not on my bingo card for tonight. I'm ready to go
Wow.
find a car and just rip it. Let's go.
you have us all ready to run through a wall for you. And
It was a-
obviously, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was a very good sit down.
Yeah, I would say it's right up there with the best. And
And if you'd
we
like
all
to know
hope nothing
more,
but the best of you.
US Legend Cars and NX have a whole article on me on their website. You can go ahead and look at that if you'd like to.
There you go.
They're
But-
in the pit series. But I'm done tooting my own horn. I hate to brag. I like to keep the humbleness.
I didn't take that as bragging, Mr. Mertz. I thought it was very good.
Oh
we're all
man.
rooting for you.
Oh
You're all
man, we
BRB
just went through this whole thing,
behind you.
man.
Full
Oh my
circle. We went
God.
full circle on the podcast.
I'm
It's
good
a
at tying
full
things
circle
back
moment.
together.
Like
It's a
you
skill
racing
I
as
have.
well.
Lord of mercy.
But
But
I mean, that will conclude the Sundance Pizza Sit Down. Thank you, Richard, for getting us on that. And if
I got to
y'all
thank
have-
someone from chat from that, actually. I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned it.
I think it was
There you go.
King. I'm not sure.
We're
I
wrapping
thought
up
it-
as China FP1 is going live, ladies and gentlemen,
perfect
for
time.
Formula One.
Oh.
only 3.5 more hours.
Goodness
I've already seen
gracious.
2 off tracks and we're 5 minutes into practice, so this is great.
Are you serious?
Are you
I
serious?
don't- I think that's a great way to sign off.
Yeah. Well, with that, Zach, I don't know if you're familiar with our sign off, but there's this thing that we do and we say, we're going to go in a certain order. We're going to go with Richard, Carl, myself, Adam, and then all the way down to you. We're going to say the same thing, and then we're going to say it all together.
Uh-huh.
So just roll with it. But before we do that, obviously want to thank you for your time tonight and for all you do for our league as well. You and Andrew are key parts of this league. Even though y'all are the broadcast team, I see y'all as admin in your own right, and doing what y'all do to spread our league and our message, our goal, etc. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time tonight. Adam, thank you for your time tonight. And obviously thank you to all of our sponsors that help support and fund BRB Racing League, whether that be Butt Kicker at Sundance Pizza, Idealies, Ascendance Trucks, Maddox Graphics, Advanced GG, CFM Performance, or Rev Sim Shop. All of you help fund our dreams on a week-to-week basis here virtually. So we appreciate y'all. And with that, Richard, start our sign-off.
Buckle it up.
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 Or
you'll
you'll
die.
die.
Sorry, I didn't explain that perfectly, but now you get it for future.
Zach's like,
future
I'm never
reference.
doing this again. Good
Yeah.
night.
I had to just kind of like go with it there for a second. I didn't really know what the segue was gonna be. I thought we were all just gonna repeat it, but it just kind of segued into something else. But we roll with it. That's how we do here. That's
Yeah,
how
we do a good job.
We're trying
vibe.
to get you cultured, but no, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next week at Rockingham.
Thank you guys.